Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here. Hopefully everyone's had themselves a great weekend and have you know, had some nice sunny times. Some summer coming on. Of course, for me, they've announced that the rainy season has officially started. Okay. It's been pretty rainy this year anyway. But nevertheless, over here in Japan, we get our rainy season here coming up in June. It's always, is it going to be too little or too much? Every year is a gamble. But then again, Japanese farm aren't really famous for their farming, which maybe that explains why. But nevertheless, so it's another gloomy day, is my point. I got very little coffee in my cup, and it's definitely cold. But that's okay. I'll get some more later. So hopefully everyone's doing well. Let me go over here and hit that like and share button. And curious what's been going on with you. It's been a week, of course, and I noticed that Leslie Jones did the Daily Show host again. I guess it's not the first time she's done it, but not well received, I guess. But then again, I never found her to be particularly funny. If she's with somebody else and she's kind of like this background, the clown character, I've seen a couple of chuckles off of her. But she's not, I don't know if she's host worthy. Tell me about that, you Americans who might see that. It's it's getting some backlash, but I didn't really get it. Why would they have her do that? She's not really that kind of person, is she? Did I misunderstand her personality? Maybe I did. But it seems like she really doesn't like RFK for some odd reason. Um, you would think, better health is a good thing, but he does have a weird voice because of his troubles he's had, and she doesn't like it. So I guess that's enough. But I saw that, and of course, please hit that like, share button, everybody. Let everybody know we're coming, we're on today. I seen that some of the other kind of standard nonsense is going on. Of course, we had the Springs incident, which I'll talk about soon. And of course, just a bunch of chaos in the movie situation, which is what we mainly talk about. I haven't seen anything encouraging comic book wise with Marvel, although DC has been doing this. Well, what are they calling it? The absolute version of things. I haven't been paying attention to it. I don't know if it's any good. Tell me if it's any good. Should I go read that and kind of catch up on what DC is doing? Because it looks like they're redefining all their heroes and villains and giving them new powers and stuff like that. And it's like, is this another attempt at a soft reboot, which they do from time to time? Um, you all know that I've said on many occasions, I personally think, Marvel particularly needs a full reboot. They need to reboot. They need to iron out their cosmology 100%, so that there's a Bible going around Marvel comic books that said this is what's what, and you have to abide by it. It needs that really desperately, unless you're doing like a what if, Elseworld type of story, which is fine. But it needs to be defined that way very specifically, because a lot of times in comics they'll just all of a sudden you're on a different world, and they'll mention in like the first few pages of the comic, and then as the comic rolls on, they never mention it again. It's weird. They're not really good about letting you know where you are and why you are. This is a problem that's going to be going on quite a while. And we know that comic books have lots of problems, which is sad because, like we said before, Europe comic books are killing it. They're doing really well. A lot of money being made. People are enjoying the comics. Over in Asia here, of course, the Japanese are the kings of that. But you have Korean comics and you have stuff coming out of China as well. Um, Southeast Asians don't seem to do it much, nor do the Indians. But there's a market right there. Boy, I know we had CB Sawalski over here in Japan for a long time trying to open up this market. And in the end, the only thing he made was a Japanese boy band thing, which is weird. But course, selling Western comics here in Japan is kind of difficult because it just doesn't follow their format. I mean, if you want to sell Spider-Man over in Japan, for instance, well, you need to create a Spider-Man comic that has a beginning, middle, and end, and there's your story, and that's that. I mean, that's how you do it over here. And they could do that, but their branding and their rebranding is very antithetical to the concept. So this is why they've had so much trouble breaking in. There have been a few anime that have been done, but and some people like them, some people don't, of course. But in general, the Japanese people have no idea about our comics beyond the character name. Like Spider-Man, maybe they saw the movie, or maybe they didn't, but they know the logo and they might have a backpack with it or something like that, but they couldn't tell you anything about Peter Parker. And that's the same with everything, from, Captain America to, Snoopy. They don't even understand that Snoopy is part of a comic strip called Peanuts and that he's actually the bad guy. They have no clue. So if you want to break into the Japanese market, you have to go about it in a very different way. And I guess CB Sobalski didn't have the wherewithal to get that done. And like I said, he wasted a lot of time over here. And all we got out of him was a Japanese boy band comic, which, yeah, I know it hurt me too. No, nobody asked for that. No. Oh, that's okay. Glad to have you, of course. How are you? How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I had a nice, quiet, but very quick weekend. Time is flying at an extreme pace. Um, it does do that. Yeah, I know it's true. Time is moving at an accelerated rate. That's for sure. But I've been debating with my wife what we're going to get her because going to buy a new car for her. So it seems to be have come down to either a Subaru BRZ or one of the new Honda Preludes. I do have an inside track with Honda. I know some people. Yeah. Well, well, no, I know the person that controls Honda in this area. Yeah. Yeah, Honda Prelude might be a nice little choice for her. BRZ, they're about the same type of vehicle. They're sporty, small, kind of basically two seaters. Nice little running around town car for my wife. I'd rather her be in something a little bit more capable than just some stupid Japanese K car. I hate those things. Well, if you're go nice. Hey, get out of his way. Get out of his way. What are you driving? That doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah, no, I heard people like the Fusions actually. I don't know what the luxury package means. They don't make them. No, well, Ford really wants to get out of the car business. They just want to make trucks. Oh, that is cool. Yeah, there's some nice little there's some modern features that are kind of nice to have. Um, that's for sure. Oh yeah, well you're in the Rust Belt, dude, so you got issues. But with that because that's serious trouble owning metal things in the Rust Belt. But when my car with my Civic, the ST, it's the car it's one of those little magic moment cars. Every now and then a maker will come out with just this genius amazing thing. It happens every now and then for pretty much everybody, right? That's why they exist, because they came out with something amazing. And Honda's done it a few times. Their probably the first big hit they had was their Super Cub, that little looks like a scooter, but it's actually a motorcycle. You ever seen those? Yeah. I mean that thing was a mega worldwide hit, and of course you can't kill them. So I mean, Honda's had a few big just magic moments. They've had it over the years, and the one I have here is one of those, the Gen 10 Civics. But the only complaint I have, because it's a freaking performance machine. I love it, right? But the only problem is the interior, which I have the best version you could possibly get. That's why I got the ST instead of the Type R, right? It's the seats are great. I have the seats I'm good with, thumbs up. But the rest of it, man, I guess you're saving money somewhere. And I guess it's just the interior. I just wish it were better and cooler. Like for instance, I love the push start everything has now and all the cruise controls and all that kind of stuff. But for instance, I have my car has heated seat button, which I don't need, right? Um, well, she does use it. But on the other side of it, I would love to have one of those buttons that remembers the seat position. You know what I mean? And a lot of cars have it. I was looking at the Mazda 3 and it had that. Of course, Mazda 3 interior is gorgeous. But yeah, I don't have that. It's just I don't know. I didn't go with a Type R because Type R interior is even worse. It's meant for, ooh, I'm a sports race car driver, and it's all rigid seats and no amenities. It sucks, dude. But yeah, so I do love the car. I mean, it's absolute monster on performance. It's ridiculous, that car, which is why it's famous and why you pay so much for it. But I just wish the interior were sweeter, dude. I might, because I'm going to keep that. That's a type of vehicle you keep. I mean, there's every now and then you get a car that, you should hold on to that, right? And I will keep that. It'll end up in a garage eventually. But yeah, it's the only thing. I've been looking at a. Don't tell my wife. I've been, uh, I've been looking at a Ferrari Roma. Yeah, but I wouldn't buy it here though. I might buy it for us in Malta. No, it's going to cost me a lot more anyway. But Malta is a culture, which is weird because when you think about car cultures around the world, you don't think of little teeny teeny islands in the middle of the Mediterranean. You don't, right? But they are a car culture, serious one. So I might just drop it and leave it over there. But I really, really want one. The problem is they're too pricey, dude. Well, maybe I could find a used one at a more reasonable price. Yeah. But I was actually surprised how expensive they are because it's more of their standard touring Ferrari. It's not one of their hypercars. It's not one of those. Well, I wouldn't know if it's a lower end. The price says it's not. But it's a touring car, right? Um, yeah, but they used to be Ferraris you could get for under 100,000, right? Um, yeah, well, there's a lot to that statement. But I really, yeah, I do have to get something from Malta because I don't have a vehicle over there as it is. But I really, really want. It's one of those things I really want, but I really shouldn't do. Yeah, that's the see, yeah, mm-hmm. That's true. Um, yeah. Hmm. Oh, you can leave them to your kids, dude. True, and my kids are doing well with that. So yeah, but But to be fair, I get your. Of course, you're right. But my wife and I are very simple people, dude. We're just well, no, but I'm hemming and hawing about it, right? Ferrari owners probably don't do that. But no, my wife and I are really simple people, dude. We just don't need all that fancy nonsense. We're just not that kind of people. We're simple. And we're happy to be so. I don't know what it is because I've never been a big Ferrari fan, to be honest with you. I've always thought the Lamborghini was cooler looking, right? But it's just something about the new Roma. I don't know what it is. I love it. I don't know. Yeah, just it's gore. Go take a look at it, man. It's a beautiful thing. Let me show you. I'll show you. Oh, I got to bring this up anyway, right? So let me go here, and I'll jump in and go over to a new click. Um, it. Why would you run out of soda pop? I see. Let's look at that. Look at that beauty, man. Look at that. It is nice. It is. Like I said, it's not one of their fancy hypercars. It's not, right? It's just it's a Grand Tourer GT is what it is. But I don't know. It's just sexy as hell. I mean, Porsche's always had a real kind of beautiful purist look to it, and I do love Volkswagen engines, the German, air cooled engines, right? Porsche, but I don't know. It's just something about a Porsche. It's not there. It's near there. This has got this kind of the nice ass like the Porsche has, but it's got that cool Jaguar J6 front end. Oh, nice. That's all right. Just turn up the volume, and then she'll call the authorities. Um, but I don't know. For me, it's gorgeous. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Maybe for you guys it isn't. And they even have a dude. Look at that. They even have a spider version, man. Look at that. Yeah, you say that, but you see, my ST has a moonroof in it, right? And I mainly bought it because it put that black moonroof top on it, and it just the black and red mix of my car makes it just really nice. It pops. But it, it is nice. But the problem is when you open that thing during the day, the sun just wants to melt your brain. So I don't know that it actually would be a smart idea to be having a convertible. My son would buy a Mercedes executive. He doesn't have my thinking yet. No, it's not. Yeah. But it's pretty, isn't it? Um yeah, no, I know there's something wrong with his audio, Roger. I know this, but it's not that bad. Yeah, I figured you were out and about. I mean, I could hear it. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. And when he gets back home, it'll be better, but it's not so bad. And I know that whatever I'm hearing is what you guys are hearing. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it's not that bad. Anyway, it's pretty, ain't it? Get the red one, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, Lambos are nice, dude. Look at that ass. Look at that ass. My ST has a beautiful ass as well. It's very similar to this. Mm, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Roger says he can't hear you at all. Really? Well, I can hear him though. If I can hear him, how can't you hear him? Go ahead. He said it can't hear him at all. No, no, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Let me. I've been he. Roger's right. I'm an idiot. Do you?
December.
All right. Go ahead and speak again.
Hello, hello, hello.
Are you happy now, Roger, that you can hear him? Goodness gracious. Why couldn't you just decipher what he's saying through my conversation?
Yeah, it was one sided. It was fine.
Okay, you're good now. They can hear you now. You're picking up. I was just being an idiot. I was infatuated with the Ferrari's ass.
You know what I wish they still made? What I wish still existed is Dodge Vipers. I like Dodge
Vipers.
Vipers.
They don't make
They-
Vipers anymore.
I don't think so.
Oh,
They were
that's a
pretty
shame,
terrible
dude.
cars overall, but they looked
Oh,
fucking sick.
they were beautiful if you want to die. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, they
what
were
a way to go.
dangerous, dangerous
What a
car, dude.
way to go.
But they were pretty.
Listen, you only get to die once, too, most likely, unless you're real lucky. So you might as well go out in something beautiful.
Yeah, no, you're right. They are done. 2017.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a while. That's crazy. It's a decade.
I don't know. Does Dodge have
Almost a
a
decade.
Dodge sports car?
The Americans kind of gave up. Worthless.
Well, they make a
They
lot of
kind of just
trucks
threw
and
the
they charge
towel
way
in.
too much for it. So.
Well, that's why, because these idiot rednecks keep buying these $150,000 trucks. You blame them? I wouldn't. I wouldn't make cars either.
Yeah,
Trust me, I
no,
used to sell them all the
I
time to
don't.
these idiot rednecks.
Yeah, I don't understand why the trucks are good useful if you're in that situation. Yeah, we just got the Charger and the Challenger, and I'm assuming
Yeah, and they're just they're fine, but
they're
they're barely
fine.
even sports
I
cars.
think the reboot of the Camaro is the prettiest of those rebooted muscle cars, in my opinion. And I'm sure they're fun to drive.
If
They're
I was going to get any kind of American sports car, modern one anyway, it'd just be a vet. The modern Corvettes
oh,
are
the
sick.
modern Corvette's
But other than that,
gorgeous. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Other than that, the rest of them. And my favorite car used to be a Mustang, but they completely screwed that pooch. So
Did they?
yeah, my
Yeah, but
dream car is still a 1964 and a half cherry red Mustang convertible. They're
and
getting harder and harder to find.
I do like the Corvette, to be honest with you, and I know they do sell some because they actually produce a right-hand drive for
Mm-hmm.
Japan. They actually do that. And
Yep.
like with the Roma, I need to go up to Fukuoka and I need to go sit in one and see if I fit because I'm a little bit so I might
You're a little
not
tall.
a little bit, but I should be able to fit in a Corvette. I mean, come on.
Yeah, for sure.
But they are pretty and they're cheaper, dude.
Yeah.
They
All
are
right.
cheaper than
They're back.
Ferrari, and it's American made in America.
Made in America.
I mean,
No,
come
they're
on, that
fast too. Actually,
yeah, they're
not bad.
pretty. They are pretty, and they do have some variety to them as well. It's nice. Mid-engine Corvette. Did you ever think such a thing would happen? You're welcome, Roger. Sorry about that. Yeah, a lot of people were really upset about it. Oh, I got a mid-engine American car. What's wrong with you? All right. Americans really like to not be like the Europeans because, well, they are mean to us. I guess that's why. I mean, because they are mean to us. Let's be fair. But look at that in white, dude. Look at that. That's a AI representation, but it's still a vet. I mean, look at that though. That is sweet, man. Yeah, maybe I should be thinking American because I can definitely afford that. That's not that wouldn't be much of a stress. How about you? You ever think about buying a sports car? Maybe I have lost the Thundero. Anyway, let's leave it on that beautiful Corvette and come over back over the other side. He is muted. He's doing something, and that's okay. But yeah, I love cars. I'm a car guy. So I know everyone isn't like me, and cars are more just practicality, and that's cool. That's cool. To each his own, right? But I've always been a car guy, and I really what I love. One of the things I wouldn't say regret, but it's unfortunate that I don't live in America. Because if I was in America, I would have a garage, right? And in that garage would be some beat up old 60s, 50s, or 40s vehicle that I was always wrenching on because it's always breaking down and I'd love every minute of it. But I would definitely have that. Maybe I have myself. You know what I like is those old 50s trucks. Those are nice, and some of the 60s look good too. But those old 40s and 50 trucks, I love the look of them, the shape of them. And in America, you're required to have a truck, at least one, right? I mean, I think that's the law.
You should, if you know what you're doing. I'm back now. I was in line. I don't
Oh,
know if
that's
you
all
were
right.
talking to
You can be in line. Um,
me.
uh, yeah, no, my wife yesterday, she got on a kick of a few videos of watching airport drama.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. And
Oh boy.
why is it 90% of the time it's always some black lady? What's up with that?
You know why, Chester. You know the answer to this question before you even asked it,
I know.
sir.
Well, I'm a teacher. That is the rule. Um, but she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it because for
Well,
her
she
it's
hasn't had
this.
the exposure.
Well, no, she hasn't. But for her, I mean, watching her body kind of twist to what's going on, and it's like from her point of view, it's like it's animal behavior, right? For
Yeah,
her. And that's not a
I would call it
racism
a chimp
thing.
out.
It just is animal behavior because it is what it is. And of course, recently people have been talking about black fatigue. And of course, I don't know if that's the right term because
Oh, that's the right term.
well, everybody has it though, including black people.
Yeah, but not like this.
Maybe we
Not
could
like
call
this.
it ghetto fatigue, maybe?
Not like this. Listen, we all know what you mean when you say that, Chester.
Yeah, I
They
know.
know what you mean when you say
But I mean, you and I both know there's a difference between an American who may be black and a ghetto. They're not the same thing,
I will
dude.
get I will get Grimlock in here and he'll say the word that we both are thinking that we're not allowed to say on YouTube.
Oh well, yeah, but yeah, no, you're right. But I mean, it's just wow, dude, just so much ignorance. It's like the thing is they don't, and there are other colors. We've seen other people doing too, Karens and stuff like that, but they don't listen. It's like they can't hear.
Well, they can hear.
But I mean, how
They
can
can
you
hear.
be
They
so
just don't listen.
belligerent? Yeah, but how can you be so belligerent? You haven't done
Because
anything
they've
to
been
just.
raised in a culture for the last 40 or so years, probably longer, that has told them none of their problems are their fault. All of their problems are the white man. The white man did it to them. The system did it to them. So they don't believe that they are capable of committing a wrong offense, especially considering a huge preponderance of them look at white people as inferior to them, which is hilarious because on what metric are you judging that? Um, so they
Yeah,
think they can just do what they want because
it's just
they're
weird.
better than you, and it's just what it is. What's going to happen is exactly what I said was going to happen. What our boy Grimlock's been warning these goofy people is going to happen. White people are done. We're done. You're going to hear N bombs everywhere. You're going to see actual racism again, like you haven't seen in 80
Which is
years.
a shame.
It's over.
Yeah,
It's over. We tried. I grew up and I didn't give a shit. My first girlfriend was a black girl. Nobody cared.
yeah.
And then all of a
No one
sudden,
cared.
we reached out our hand, or my generation reached out our hand as if we were all brothers, and they slapped it away. All right, cool. That how you want to be? That's how you want to be. Just remember,
Yeah.
white people have two modes. We have, hey, bro, chill, and then genocide. That's it. We have two
Yeah, that
modes.
that is
And when
the
we flip
worry.
the genocide switch, it gets bad.
That is the
It gets real
worry.
bad.
That is true. Yeah.
I don't want
Um,
that to happen. I'm not advocating for
no,
that,
it's
YouTube.
sad.
I've
It
been
is
advocating
sad.
against it for years and years and years. I'm just telling you reality. And the reality is, history proves white people are real cool until we're not. We're all chill until we're not. And then we go on a little bit of a genocide, wherever we happen to be.
Which is a shame
We've been
because
doing it
it
for
has
thousands of
happened.
years.
Yeah, it's happened many times, unfortunately.
Yep.
But yeah, just I mean, of course, I'm used to that kind of attitude and action. She's not. But just watching her body literally twist to the cringe of
Yeah.
it, right? Because
Disgusting. It's
it
just
is
response.
disgusting. It is the correct response because it's disgusting. What are you doing? I
And
mean,
it's not even and as much as it is one group that does it more so, or at least gets caught doing it more so than others, like per capita, like you were saying, yes, there is a racial component to it because for whatever reason in our genetics we have this thuggishness that's in certain amount of us. But the problem is theirs seems to be at a higher preponderance than anybody else's by far.
right,
And because we're not
or
allowed to
just
police
allowed.
it properly,
Yeah.
yeah, we're not allowed to police it and not allowed to, well, to be honest, do what we did to our ancestors, which is just hang anybody who was a problem. Since we're not allowed to do that, because that's racist apparently, they just get worse. And the truth of the matter is, you're not going to fix the problem until you remove the bad genes. That's just the truth. You don't have to like it.
Yeah, but
It's the truth. Now, you can do that through force, or you can do that through the way it was working before the Civil Rights Act, whereas they just had families and, just tried to be normal.
yeah,
But you
it
can't
was
pretend that
way
it won't
better,
work.
dude. It was way better.
Yeah, of
It was
course it
so
was.
much
Of
better. It
course it
was
was, because they
peaceful.
had skin in the game. Now they don't have any
They
skin in
did.
the game.
Well, dude,
Daddy government takes care of everything. White people pay for everything because white people are the only ones in this country, besides the very small amount of Asians, that actually pay taxes, that actually, are tax positive on
yeah,
average. So white people and the rich Asians pay for everything, and they get everything for free. I mean, when you break it down, some of these families are, and it's not just black people, anybody on the dole. Some of these families are making over six figures when you break it all down. They're bringing home
yeah.
because they get their insurance paid for, they
Well,
get their
yeah,
food paid for, they get their house paid for, they
yeah,
get their electric paid for. Like just completely,
yeah.
they're just living on the dole, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year effectively,
Sure.
and we're
Now,
all just supposed to smile and nod
well,
like
let
it's
me ask
okay. No,
let
it
me
ain't
ask a
okay.
question for you then, because
Yeah,
you're in it. I'm not. And you're actually near what I'm going to talk about, especially with JD Vance coming into play in this conversation.
that's my boy.
You have the Appalachians, right? And
Yep.
they would have an express. They wouldn't say dole. They'd say draw, right?
Yes.
Not going to tell. Yeah, this is our draw. We deserve our draw. And so
Hmm.
they're not different than some ghetto black person as far as their means, but yet I
Correct.
don't see the Appalachians out there, acting a fool.
Foolishness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what's the
because they
difference?
don't.
Because they are just as desperate and for their government money, and they're
Well, I'll
stuck on
tell you.
it, dude. They're stuck on their welfare bad, just like a lot of the black communities. So we have, the white black thing again. And
Yep.
but yet we're seeing a lot of violence out of one group and none out of the other.
Well, here's why. It's very simple, actually. We've since about the 40s, 50s, 60s, somewhere in that ballpark, depending on where you want to start at. We've been told this lie that poverty creates crime. That's not true. That's not true anywhere on the planet. It's never been true. It will never be true. Criminals are not just poor people who gave up on trying to find a job. Criminals have no moral fiber, and that's why they do what they do. Trust me, I've been homeless before. You know what I didn't do? Steal from people. Didn't do it.
Mhm.
Wouldn't do it. So it has nothing to do with desperate situations. Sometimes in rare circumstances, maybe. But more often than not, they're just bad people. Period. They're just bad people who have bad moral fiber. So the reason why you don't see this problem as much in the Appalachians is, one, they don't report on their own very often, unless they have to. Two, they handle business inside their communities because they don't really have a choice. And three, it's because they have a higher moral fiber than the ghettoized blacks and Mexicans and even the whites that live in
Ho-
these situations.
Hollywood would
It has
disagree with you.
very little to do, nothing to do with socioeconomic factors. That's a lie. That is a lie spread by a whole bunch of mostly Jews, if we're being honest, to get white people to put their guard down around violent, dangerous people, so they could integrate everybody and have their big experiment on equality.
You
It's a
know,
bold-faced lie.
do you know
The reason
why?
why they do it is because they have a genetic predisposition to violence. White people have it too on some level, but for whatever reason, black Americans have it higher. It's probably because they have incredibly high testosterone and low intelligence on average comparatively.
Well,
That's probably
yeah,
all it is. That's probably
knowledge, the
it.
acquisition of knowledge is not really a big thing in their culture, unfortunately. But then again, the
Correct.
Appalachians are kind of considered to not be horribly highly educated as well. Although I don't know that that's
They're not,
true.
but they have a lower testosterone metric on
Yeah,
average
but
than
their
your.
practical knowledge is probably pretty high.
Oh, absolutely. You're
Yeah.
not surviving there
Of course,
without knowing what you're doing.
I'm just seeing what how Hollywood portrays them. Although Tucker and Dale versus Evil is a great movie, though. Go watch it.
Yes,
It's
yes,
hilarious.
it is.
But
But
you know why the
we already know the answers to all these questions, Chester. It's just nobody wants to talk about them because they make you an evil racist. But I'm telling you, that's done now. That's over. The young white people, especially under 30, most of the men do not give a shit anymore. Their entire culture
well,
has been stolen from
yeah, it
them. Their
has.
entire birthright has been stolen from them. They have no actual future unless they somehow become one of the super exceptional, like top 1% earners at a young age. They have no hope of finding a woman that's worth a shit. They have no hope of having their own home. They have no hope of having their own family. And on top of that, their entire culture and society, from academia to the media to the government, tells them they're the problem when they just got here. They haven't even been here but for a cup of coffee, and somehow all the world's problems are their fault. What
Yeah,
would you feel
I get.
if
No,
in
I
that
get that.
situation? The
I get
violence is
that.
coming. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it's going to be the worst war we've ever seen. And they're going to deserve every bit of what happens to them because they wouldn't listen to reason. When reasonable
Well,
people like
it's
me and
always
people
that
like
way.
me have been telling them, you got to stop or they're going to snap. And when they snap, they're going to kill all you. They're going to eat you. They're going to eat you alive like they did before. It's happened before. It'll
Yeah.
happen again.
Yeah. No,
We
I
think
mean,
we're civilized. We think we're this evolved species. We're not. The Joker was correct. When the lights go out, these people will eat each other. He is
yeah.
absolutely correct. It takes about 2 weeks before the cannibalism starts in every culture on the planet.
No, no, it's you're right, especially in the cities. But Joker here, of course, is talking about the handing down of violence. Of course, he has a little statement here about father, and I think a big difference in the conversation is the father, because in the Appalachians, the father is present most of the time.
More often than not, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I,
Well, that's what it is. They've
but I wanted to make
demonized the
my
masculine.
you keep stepping on my Jew joke.
I'm fired up, Chester. I'm
Yes,
fired up.
fine. Well, I just wanted to say they get kicked out of the UK hundreds of years ago. Do you know why they kicked the Jews out?
Tell me.
Because they were take because at that time we had an actual monetary system, a real one, unlike the fiat
That's
system we
correct,
have, and therefore all
which
the
is BS.
coins had actual, precious metal in them, copper, silver, gold, things like that.
Yep.
And what the Jews are doing is they were taking the coins and they were shaving off just a little bit on the end, using it for all their purchases, therefore reducing the actual value of the coin, but putting into the system and then melting down and keeping the silver.
Yep.
And they got caught doing it, and the crown's response was kick them all out.
They just found a new way to do that. It's called inflation.
Oh well, fiat currency, the fiat currency. Yeah, they found a really nice way of doing it. But it is a shame. But just watching my wife's cringe was interesting because, goodness gracious, man, they do not listen. Then all of a sudden, and the thing that's interesting to me is the police in these videos because
Yeah,
police is a love-hate relationship. I mean, to be fair, they're the enemy of the people. They always have been, and they
they
always
are
will be. They
road
serve
pirates.
well. They serve the elite, right? And
Yep.
they're glorified tax collectors. This is the truth. But also the truth is we need them, right? and the fact that we can feel compassion for them having to deal with this shit, right? Because most cops aren't
Mhm.
out there getting shot at. Most of them are having to deal with this nonsense, ridiculous
Right.
nonsense that shouldn't exist whatsoever. But the thing I notice about these police, they're so patient.
Yes.
They give them 1,000 opportunities to do the right thing. So
Yep.
patient.
They won't.
And I'm assuming the difference is from when I was younger is that camera that they have on their chest, right? And that's why. Because when I was younger, and of course even before that, if you mouthed off to a cop, he's going to jack your jaw.
Yeah.
He ain't going to play with you.
Well,
And I kind of
see,
wonder which is better though, because they are what
here's
they
the
are.
here's
They
the thing.
are the servant of the elite. That is what it is. So I'm kind of wondering:
Dogs of
is
the
it
state.
better to have this camera that keeps them in line, or is it better to let them go out there and jack some jaws? I don't know.
It would be better to let us do it. If they let us be the militia we're supposed to be, these problems go away very quickly. But then you have people crying about lynching and things like this. Even though the vast majority of the people who were lynched were guilty of the thing they were lynched for, and they were white, by the way.
Oh sure,
Newsflash.
oh
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry, your history books lied to you that lynching was a racist. It had very little to do with racism and everything to do with rape. Actually, most of them were rapists, so they lynched them.
yeah.
Um,
Or sheep ranchers.
yes, yes. Uh,
There's a
that's
reason
just the
why
truth of the
America
matter.
isn't known for sheep,
We used to be able to handle this business the way we should handle this business. Street justice is the ultimate form of justice. I think Heinlein was correct. Violence is the supreme authority from which all other authority is derived. Whoever has the exclusive access and right to do so is the state, whether they call themselves that or not. We cannot say we are a free people if we do not have the legal right to handle business. Sometimes business has to get handled. I just watched this video earlier of these three young men who beat their stepfather to death because he was molesting their sister, their 9-year-old sister,
fair,
and they beat him to death with poles. They're arrested.
fair.
I said, "What are you arresting them for?" They did their job. That's their job as their brother. That's the job. Period. In every culture since the dawn of civilization, next of kin has the right to refusal, meaning they have the right to kill this son of a bitch if he hurts their family. That should be the law everywhere in every culture. The only reason it's not is because we listen to bleeding heart liberals like you who tell us it's wrong to kill people.
Like me,
You're the one who don't like the death penalty.
well, because it's illogical.
It is logical though,
No, it's not.
because
Um, a
what you
mob
don't prune,
justice, mob
you
justice,
get more
fine.
of.
I don't disagree with it. But the government murdering someone for murder, it's illogical to me.
So if a father like that, I can't remember his name, but the great hero that was, who blew off the guy's head on national television because he raped his daughter
Yeah,
in like the 80s. I can't remember his name, Rich something. Um, that's okay
that's fine.
in your mind.
Yeah,
Okay, then we're good. Because that's the militia's job, by the way. But we've allowed these people to bastardize our law. Under common law, the people have the right of first refusal to all justice. The government is supposed to act as our proxy. The sheriffs are supposed to act as our proxy. That's why we vote and elect them to be our proxy. So we don't have to necessarily go and hang somebody. But when we know they've done it, now, yes, you can get it wrong, and that happens, but the state gets it wrong too, all the time. So what are we talking about? This idea that, well, what if you're wrong? Well, what if we're not? What if we're not? Everybody's always worried about the what if in the negative. What if in the affirmative? What if they're right?
yeah,
What if Epstein could have got handled by any number of people on the streets of like New York City when he was walking around and had nothing done to them? The only reason that didn't happen is one, people didn't know, and two, the people who did know knew they would be arrested and thrown in a cage for the rest of their life if they handled that business.
sure.
I
But
am just saying, street justice is real justice. It always has been. It always will be. No matter how many proxies you put in the way of it, it's about time that the West remembered who the fuck it is. We were founded by bandits, brigands, pirates, and thieves. That's who founded all these grand ideas of the West, and we have all this philosophy, and we're evolved. No, we're not. No, and I know where we came from. I know where we came from. I remember I've studied those men. They were bastards. They were bastards. They'd eat your heart right in front of you if they had to. These were terrible human beings by our current morality. But they created a system. They created a system that allowed us to have civilization down the line. And they knew that's what they were doing. That's why they did it. Because,
Yeah.
like you were talking about, why do they act this way? Why do they act this way? Because they know there's no actual consequences. That's why they act this way. They were dealing with people like that back in the day, so they gave them some consequences. You know, you steal a horse, we hang you. Done. Imagine if we just hung car thieves. Just hung them. Done. See ya.
You'd
You're
have a
out now.
lot of young dead people.
You'd have a lot less car thieves.
You
Is what you'd
would.
have.
You would. Yeah, no, that the thing with the Kia boys and things like that, yeah. They're just kids and they're allowed to get away with it, and it's dangerous what they're doing. And of course,
Yep.
they don't make a lot of money. They make very little bit of money because what they do is they'll steal those cars and they sell them to some gangbanger who will pay nothing for it and use it in a drive-by and then leave the car.
Yep.
That's what's mainly happening with the Kia Boys stuff. And of course, because they're kids, they're just not going at them like they should because that is nonsense, dude. That is
But they're
absolute
just
nonsense.
children. Okay. And
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 yeah,
I'm sorry. I just like I don't understand this argument how we allow these people to convince us that just because somebody's mentally deficient, they shouldn't face the same consequences.
yeah,
What are we talking about?
yeah.
The consequences have nothing to do with their intellect and everything to do with the fact of what they did.
What do you
Or
think's
else that's
go-
not justice.
What do you think's going to happen with this Carmelo Anthony thing?
He's going to get off, or he'll get a slap on the wrist. You're allowed to kill white people in this
And
country, Chester,
you don't
especially
think
if it
that
gets
that's not
national
going to
press.
kick off?
Oh, absolutely it is. It already did. Didn't you see that young lady? You saw Shiloh.
Yeah, that girl. Yeah, I did. But I mean,
It's only going to get worse from here. And I'm telling you, I've been warning for years, for over a decade. Since you've known me, I've been warning. It's only going to get worse from here. There's that. You ever see that meme of this guy? The guy, he's in like a AV or whatever, and he's wearing like a gas mask and a helmet and all this stuff. And he says, "Hey, come here. It's gonna get so much worse from here," or something like that. That's where we're at. That's what time it is in the West, especially in America.
mhm.
Trump is the olive branch. I've been saying it since he ran in 2015. He's the olive branch. The people on that side had better take it because we got all the guns. And if it kicks off, you're going to die. And that's not a
Yeah.
threat. That's
No,
that's
Trump
what's
is
going to
definitely
happen
that.
here.
But he, as of now, he is kind of winning. But we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes. But yeah, no,
Well,
that
he
is
needs to
another
ignore the
problem with the
Supreme
youth.
Court.
What do
He
you
needs to
say?
just ignore the Supreme Court. He needs to just ignore the Supreme Court. The Supreme
You
Court
want him to go
does not
full
have the
Lincoln?
authority. Go full Lincoln, go full Andrew Jackson. The Supreme Court does not have the authority to tell the executive branch how to do its job. The only authority the Supreme Court has is to interpret the law. That's it. That's it. That's all it's supposed to do. It's supposed to say that law doesn't abide by the Constitution. Okay, well, that's not what they're doing. Now they're telling the president he's not allowed to do something. Well, wait a minute. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
If the
Well,
president's doing something out of hand, Congress is supposed to stop him, not the court.
Congress
Congress's
isn't
job is to
doing
stop
shit.
him.
Have you noticed that they're doing nothing?
Yeah, literally nothing. He signed 5 laws, 5 bills into law since he's been president. He's been president for 5 months. What are we doing here? 4 months. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Now we'll
What are
see
we
how
doing?
it plays
Republican
out, but
Congress.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, there's gonna have to be some give because the dude in that 4 months that you're talking about, he has gone out and he's brought in $10 trillion.
10 trillion with a T. Count it.
Yeah,
He's trying to get rid of the national debt. That's his goal. It's been
it's
his
a good
goal
goal. It's a good goal.
since Jump Street. He's been never not said that wasn't his goal. He wants to get the national debt under control.
Yeah.
Because he understands that if we don't, the country's done. So it doesn't matter what anybody does. That's going to crush and cripple us.
Yeah.
And it basically already has. So that's what Trump's after. Hopefully he can achieve it, but we'll see because, like you said, the Congress, who's supposed to be making these things permanent, is doing nothing but getting in his way.
Yeah,
Every
no, it's
opportunity.
an issue, and I mean, it's kind of what
They think they
Congress
can run
always
out the clock.
does. I
They
mean,
think they can run out the clock, Chester, but what they don't understand is there's no going back. Trump is not the catalyst of any of this. He is the symptom.
Yeah.
He is what you get. And it's going to get worse if you don't start listening. I'm telling you, this is the West. This is America. There was a time in this country where we killed politicians on a fairly regular basis for not doing their job.
oh yeah,
People
no,
forgot. This is
that
why
is
they've
true.
memory hold the 1800s. That used to happen a lot in the 1800s. A lot. Because what would happen is they'd send them off to Congress to vote on a thing, right? Whatever the thing was. They were supposed to be the representative. And they'd come back and they'd do that. Well, They didn't go back to Congress a lot of times. Let's just put it that way. Uh, this used to be something that would happen on the occasion when it was necessary. Electors, I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere in Virginia, I think. Electors for the Electoral College voted against what the people wanted. Well, yeah. Do I need to finish the story? Because I'm pretty sure
No,
you get where I'm going
I
here.
know you. I
Yeah,
know. I know. But another issue you do have is it used to be with, like, say, in this case, the Democrats,
yeah,
or of course, just we could just say politician. What they usually tended to do was to bend the truth or to admit the truth. But these days, with these, currently mainly the Democrats, they're just making it up wholesale. They're
yeah,
just
just straight
lying
out
straight
lying.
up.
Yep.
And what the big thing they're really going on is that Trump is attacking the veterans and the Medicaid and Medicare and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, no, he's not
Nope.
at all. What are you talking about? But that's their platform, man. So
Like
good luck with that.
like one of the greatest living comedians and philosophers of our day once famously said, "Worry you don't need to worry until people start killing journalists." I'm paraphrasing. But that's when you should be worried. Because here's what happens. We put so many, levels of insulation on most of these upper level politicians that they'd be harder to get to. You could get to them, but they'd be harder to get to than, say, one of their flunky journalists who keeps doing spin for them that everybody knows is a lie, like what you just said. Everybody, they know it's a lie. They know it's a lie. Everybody knows it's a lie. Except for the very stupid people who believe their lies still.
Hmm.
I have no idea how you could possibly believe anything that comes out of a modern mainstream media journalist's mouth. I have no idea. I don't care what side of the aisle you think they're on, they're all lying to you. Every single one of them's lying to you.
Yeah.
They don't know how to tell the truth. The truth is anathema to them. It's poison to them. They will not speak it. They might speak a bit of it, just a touch, but then they'll run right into some spin. Every single one of them. There's no exception. And when there were some with some exceptions with a little bit more scruples, they got fired. So these people are where they're the first level is my point. When that starts to kick off, and it will, I'm telling you, it's going to happen, people. I'm not wishing for it. I just have studied history. I know what happens in late republics, and we're in one. We are in an old republic. This 250th anniversary is coming up here. That's old for a republic. That's pretty old,
It is.
especially one that's gotten this powerful.
Yeah.
So we are in late republic. We're dealing with what's called late republic nonsense. Every republic in the history of the world that's made it this far, that's grown this kind of power, which none have got quite our level, but still, has dealt with the same stuff at the top. The
Well,
same
sure.
nonsense, the same political corruption, the same bringing in foreigners to replace the people because the people got too comfortable and they didn't want to do these jobs, even though that's not really true. What it really means is the people who fund those jobs didn't want to pay those people, but I digress. Uh, it's the same thing that happened to Rome. It's the same thing that happened to basically every empire you can think of that became, unchallengeable or effectively unchallengeable. They couldn't be conquered from the outside very easily, right? So what happens is they die from within. And they
Yeah.
die from within because the people forget what made them great.
Yeah.
And they forget what keeps them great. And once that happens, it's only a matter of time, about 50 years, maybe 60 years, before you either have a massive political realignment like happened in Rome, where you went from the republic to the empire, to with the imperator and all of that, and then the big bureaucracy that was grown from that, or a collapse.
Yeah.
That's the only two options at this point, and I think we're heading towards imperator. That's what I think. Our
Well,
military is too
maybe.
strong for us to collapse.
Maybe because
Yeah.
that could be these, and of course that would give us a breath of fresh air for a few centuries. But
Mhm.
speaking of this nonsense that we're on about, go ahead and read the headline.
Hang on a second. I just switched back to my computer and I don't have it open. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Boom. Online manifesto threatened clinic attack. FBI probes Palm Springs Bob's bomb. Wow, I can't read. Bomb suspect's motive.
Yeah.
Blah.
Now,
Blah.
This is an interesting situation because we know that the authorities always want to hide these manifestos. They don't want us to see it because it doesn't go with the narrative. If you keep in mind that, sure, Trump is leading the way and doing his thing, but all the government across America is infested, right?
Hmm.
And they don't want the fact to show that pretty much every bit of violence we have is political violence is coming out of the left, right? Now, in
Right.
this case, this stupid kid, which I'm going to get into here in a minute, he had his manifesto online. He actually built a website to give his views to the world, so they can't
Hmm.
hide it. It's out. So
Right.
they're going to have to manage this in one way or the other. But let me introduce you to the moron who bombed Palm Springs Fertility Clinic. Now, do keep in mind that for quite a while, they were instantly, like MSNBC and stuff, as soon as this news came out, oh, it must be a Christian right winger or stuff like that. And it's like, let me ask you a question. I'm not in the country. When's the last time an actual conservative did anything like this? Can you give me a name?
Um, a name? No. There was a guy, I think it was like 3 or 4, it might have been 4 years ago now, in like Buffalo, that shot up something, but it's super rare where they go this high profile. Usually, what the so-called right-wing terrorists will usually do is they just take out one or two people, right? They go for smaller level targets because most of the people I know on the hard right and then even on the far right have the same standing rule is that individual action is stupid. It accomplishes nothing. It will accomplish nothing. You're not going to be some grand hero who kicks off a revolution. You're going to be mocked, and your entire family is going to be shamed for the rest of their life because you're an
Right.
idiot.
No, that's true. Well, that idiot word is very nice because boy, howdy, did we find one. This guy's name is Guy Edward Bartkus, which is nowhere near as cool as Butkus. Yeah.
Gab. Good old
But
Gab.
get old guy. This moron, he is an ultra progressive. Now we know
Mm-hmm.
that we've been hearing them for years because the globalist agenda, which we know where that's coming from. We've talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, just useful idiots like this. There's too many people on the planet, you see. So
That's right.
how dare you be a parent? How dare you even? Right? We've heard this argument from the progressives for quite a while. Well, this is an extreme version of that. His intention was to kill lots of people and destroy all the embryos because he thinks, this is his point, that it's not right to give birth to someone without their consent.
Wha-
Let it sink in. Just absorb it. So, what he's saying is every person ever born should not have been born,
yeah.
because that's the only logical conclusion to that statement. Therefore, his goal was to kill as many people and destroy all those embryos. Now, in reality, the only person he actually killed was himself, and none of the embryos or any of that kind of stuff was damaged at all. So,
Right.
all he succeeded in doing was killing himself. So,
Excellent.
success, I guess.
Excellent work.
Excellent. Good job.
Clap. You know what? Claps for him. Good
Clap,
job, buddy.
claps for
You
this
did the right
guy
thing in the
because
end. You did the
because
right thing in the
you
end.
did. Good job. Good job, guy. But this is a
First of all,
true idiot. I mean, a
why
real
would you
idiot.
why would you name your son Guy? What? Who does that to a child? Why? What are you doing? I understand people are named Guy, but it's stupid. All right, let's start there. Their parents set him up for a downfall,
Well, it's a
naming him
French thing.
Guy.
It's a French thing. But
Yeah, but nothing good has ever come out of France. Nothing. You
well,
know this. This is established.
cheese.
No, no.
All right,
They
all
don't even
right.
have good cheese. Actually, their
Um,
cheese is nasty.
Although I do have to, I have to warn you. Prepare yourself, Thundero. The car he was in that he blew up was a Ford Fusion.
Nice. Well, it was a 2010 though. Those were ugly. It was
Okay.
2013 to 2000, right before they stopped making them, where they had the really they used an Aston Martin body kit, and they looked real slick. They looked real slick,
Yeah.
real slick. That's what I have.
Now, I don't really know what was used, but it was probably something based on fertilizer or something like that because it was a big bang. It was big. It really was. So he got that part right. He was trying to live stream it, I guess, but he couldn't do that. This guy is a absolute idiot. Now, the
Yep.
problem with that is, of course, he could have caused death. Four people are injured, and of course, there's a lot of damage. And of course, mainly is the attack on this fertility clinic, which what the hell's wrong with fertility? And of course, but keep in mind with the left, they keep going on about all of these contradictory things. One, there's too many people, you shouldn't have a baby anyway. We've heard this for years. But at the same time, they complain that Trump doesn't like IVF and he's against it. And it's like, well, no, he's actually one of his actual spoken campaign things. He's pushing to help women with IVF because babies are wonderful, which, yeah. So but they contradict themselves in incredible ways. They lie about what Trump's opinion is all the time, and in this particular case with fertility. But then at the same time, we don't want fertility. So it's like pick a freaking lane, dude. Um,
Right.
but this is got to be one of the biggest idiots. And normally a lot of the mainstream doesn't want to show their pictures and talk about their name and stuff like that to not give them power. Dude, give this kid all the power in the world, please. Let's see a lot
Mhm.
of this kid because this is a moron, a true absolute moron, and the world is a better place today.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is down one moron. Get the good news is, Chester, he will not be creating more morons.
No, and he wouldn't have because he's against that. You see,
Yeah.
you shouldn't bring a person into this world without
Well,
consent. You see.
listen, he's a leftist. They're not exactly known for their consistency.
Hmm.
They'll tell you they're against all sorts of things while they have the largest body count in the last 2 centuries. But it's not even close. It's not even close how many people they've killed under their ideology.
Oh no, of course.
Ideologies,
Oh, of
plural.
course, of course. That is very, very true. The It's always the leftists that are causing and starting wars. Let's be fair. Now they might be prompted by rich bankers, but they're always the ones calling for it. But I
Yep.
just wanted to take a moment with this. I haven't seen a lot of coverage on this. Is the news even talking about this?
To be honest, the first I've heard of it.
Wow. See, that's the thing. I haven't seen the news covering it hardly at all. But yet there was a gigantic bombing at a fertility clinic in Palm Springs, which is an affluent neighborhood, right? Palm Springs.
Yeah.
A mega bomb, and of course, MSNBC immediately said it's a Christian did it, which is weird because most of the conservative violence we would see come out of Muslims. But okay then. But Yeah, I haven't seen really anybody covering it, and of course, probably because the kid's name came out instantly, and he's a lefty, and they don't want to talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not an abortion clinic at all, Joker. No, no, he wasn't attacking. It wasn't attacking an abortion clinic. He knew what he was doing. He doesn't. He wanted to destroy the embryos. He's anti-life, literally. He doesn't think it's right to have children, and he wanted to end it by destroying embryos. And sperm and all that kind of stuff, right? That's what his goal was. That was his goal. Not abortion. This had nothing to do with abortion. Now, did that clinic also do that? Maybe, but it's mainly a fertility clinic. He was
Right.
attacking that intentionally for that purpose, not the other way around. Now, you do get, I remember in the past, we'd have a little bit of violence toward doctors and stuff like that who committed abortions from people who would call themselves Christians. But I haven't seen that in a long, long, long time. They do protest it, but I haven't seen violence out of it since, I don't know, the 90s, like early 90s. It's been a long time.
It's pretty rare, yeah, that
Yeah.
that happens.
Well, Christians
Um,
tend not to be particularly violent.
Typically, yeah, but they have their switch too.
And of course they do. Yeah.
They have their switch too. Uh, no, I just it's just a shame. It's a shame that these people have gotten this radicalized. They're an anti-life. They're not even a death cult. They're an anti-life cult.
Yeah, yeah.
They
No,
hate
this
the
kid.
very concept of life bothers them on a fundamental
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Uh,
And there's really nothing you can do with these people except, either exile them or, 8-6, Chester. Because there's no way to de-radicalize somebody that far gone. There's just not. I mean, they can de-radicalize themselves, but that has to be something they choose to do, and the vast majority of them aren't going to do that.
No, no. And this
It's just the truth.
rhetoric, well, this rhetoric, of course, is coming directly out of the, Antifa, extreme left politic of, there's too many humans and how, you shouldn't have children and stuff. This is what he was after. I'm
There
pretty
is
sure he
not,
also,
in fact, too many humans. In fact, we could probably carry about 3 times the number we have now
well,
easily
the
on this
thing,
planet.
the problem we have with that logic is every country on the planet is seeing a reduction in population. And
Right.
once again, let me reiterate that every country on the planet,
Well, except Africa. But yeah.
no, 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 Africa is seeing it too. Every country on the planet is seeing a reduction, dude. Everyone.
You sure? What
Yes,
about
because
Africa?
we hit ourselves a peak. And the thing with Africa is, now let's be fair, they can't build and maintain anything on their own. They need outside
Right.
people to build stuff for them. And but we do. We've spent trillions of dollars in Africa, guys. And it's
And we
always
shouldn't.
some. Well, no, we shouldn't leave them be. But
Yeah.
all those buildings and all those things have been built by outsiders. They don't build it themselves. And of course, when you have affluence, people tend to have less children because you have an economy that is completely monetarily based. It
Right.
restricts people's ability to have multiple children. Where if you have more of a resource based society, which is what we used to have, having more children actually benefits you, you see.
Right. Right.
And that's where we are. And every damn country is reducing. Even India is going down.
But
China, all of them.
there's this weird mentality, and even our boy Elon has fallen prey to this, that this is somehow a terrible thing. I don't think it is.
No, I don't think
I
so.
think it's perfectly normal. I think it's, if you look
Well,
at the data and you look at everything, that these population waves come and go
they do.
in about 100-year cycles. And that's just where we're at now. We're on a
Well,
downturn.
the negative for it, because you're right, it's and there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with a society having whatever number of people it has in it. The
Right.
problem is not people. The problem is the welfare system. You see, if
Yep.
you don't constantly having more and more people coming into the system to pay their taxes, then you can't maintain the system unless you do something different, which is what Trump is trying to do with his tariffing and his industrial growth. Is what he's trying to counter that, right? But
Well,
this
we're
is the
pretty
problem.
close. We're pretty close to solving this problem with robots.
Well, yeah, no, no, no,
Because it's
no.
not gonna be too long now where you're gonna have, and when I say fully automated, I mean fully automated production that runs all day, every day, and they'll just, as more of those are popped up all over the world, they'll become a parallel
Right.
economy to the human economy,
I
um, that can be fully taxed. The
I
problem will become who controls the robots.
Right. No, I didn't explain myself clearly. I'm not talking about worker shortage. I'm talking about actual need for people, taxpayers to be pouring money
No,
into
that's what
the
I'm saying.
system.
That's where the taxes will come from. That's what Trump's trying to do. Spoiler alert, everybody.
Oh,
Trump is
tax
trying
the
to prepare
robots. Okay.
America. Trump is trying to prepare America because he has Elon in his ear for the coming loss of the normal workers' jobs. Eventually, it's going to come to a point where your everyday normal quote unquote worker, they're just done. They're just not going to be able to. There will be no jobs for them because the automation will handle pretty much all of it. It already there's already to the point where a bunch of engineers are losing their jobs, a bunch of coders, a bunch of accountants, tax people, just all sorts of people who had, you know, good jobs, to be honest, good paying jobs. Those are going to go away. AI is going to replace them. Robots are going to replace them. Now, some things will never be replaced by a robot, I would imagine. But regardless, those jobs are going to go away. So, what Trump's trying to do, I know people think he's just this bumbling fool, but he's trying to look 50 years ahead.
Oh no,
He's even talking
clearly he
about
is.
building new cities, building whole new cities and shit, like the rest of the world is doing. What Trump is trying to do is prepare us for that. And the best way to do that is to shift from an income tax system to a tariff system or something very similar, because the income is going to go away. You're not going to reverse the population, what I call the White Death. The White Death is here. Elon can't stop it himself, no matter how hard he tries. He's trying, though. It's just not going to get fixed. It's just not. Every country, every culture, like you said, is having the same issue. This is just reality now. Now, eventually it's going to level off. We're not going to go extinct. Everybody, we're going to go extinct. No, we're not. Calm down. This has happened before. It'll probably happen again in 100 or so years. It's fine. Once we actually break free from just this planet, like Elon wants to do, we'll see a baby boom again. If you notice, baby booms usually happen either at the end of great times of turmoil, like World War II, Great Wars, or they happen during ages of exploration. They do not happen when everybody's kind of just stuck where they are, right? That staticness, if you will, is one of the things that leads to it. Because affluence, if you're affluent, why would you ever want to move around? Why would you ever want to leave? See what I'm saying? There's no sense. The sense of exploration is different. Now that we've mapped out the whole world, at least allegedly, um, there's
Yeah,
just nowhere left to
allegedly.
conquer like that except the stars, which is what Elon wants to do. So I think what will happen is when we start having, probably in the next 30 years or so, unless something crazy happens, we start having regular trips extraplanetary to Mars, to the moon, which is where the first base will probably end up, which makes sense. To asteroids for asteroid mining, which there's already companies being founded all over Europe. I think there's even a couple in America. SpaceX already has an asteroid division, I believe, because they know that it's coming. Now it's a ways off, but it's coming,
Right.
and that'll change everything.
Well,
Because there's asteroids up there that are made of nothing but solid gold. I think they think there's one that has oil in it, which they're gonna have to explain that. How'd that get
well,
up there?
I can.
Um,
Let me ask a question real quick here, if I may.
yeah.
Joker, could you please elaborate a little bit on your chemical equation there, please? What you mean by that? Actually, I feel that Elon is actually part of the cover up on that.
Mm,
First of all, there already is a base on the moon, and I think there's
most
one on
likely.
Mars as well. So I think what
Ooh,
Elon's going to be used to do, he builds his little launching station on the moon on the dark side, and they finally reveal it to us, and they're like, "Ooh, look what Elon built," and it's been there since the '60s. They're going to say, "Why is it on the dark side?" Well, it's better for launching into space. It's going to be that's the cover up. I think.
yeah,
I have a
could be.
feeling it's already
Would
there.
explain where the 30 plus trillion dollars disappeared
It
to.
might.
Holy shit.
That's a lot. That could
That's a lot of
build
money.
that could build a lot of shit.
Just to
Yeah.
be clear, they're building whole cities in different countries. I mean, and I mean whole gigantic cities,
Yeah.
Chester,
Yeah.
that'll keep millions of people. You know how much those cost? About 100 billion.
Yeah,
About
no, I
100
know.
billion.
I know. It's a lot of money, dude.
All over the world, this is happening. So we're 30 what 7 I think it is trillion in the hole now. Where'd that money go? Where'd that money go? It did not cost that much to rebuild the Middle East after we blew it up. It couldn't have. It didn't cost
And
that
we
much to
didn't
build it the first time.
we didn't even spend that much over there anyway.
That's what I'm
More
saying.
money has been thrown into Africa, and of course we know that it's just getting kicked back because there's nothing to really show for it.
Right.
But anyway, let's see what he says here. Um, if a society is large enough, it stagnates itself through impotence and a shorter lifespan. True. These are all basically chemical problems. Oh, I see. Okay. I thank you very much, Joker. Yeah, no, we are in that stage for sure. But the whole world is kind of in that together. Because one thing a lot of people don't understand is this: throughout history, technological parity is the norm, right?
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
we we often think about, oh, Rome was amazing, and therefore India and China and these African places were not parity. No, they were. Now, to be fair with Africa,
Relative
if you
parity.
don't have relatively, yeah, if you don't
Yeah.
have some foreign involvement in Africa, well, it's just going to be people running around with spears, hunting stuff, and in the old way, the
Ah,
hunter
the
gatherer way.
dream.
There is always parity. And today is no different. If you go to the heart of Africa, down in the Congo, for instance, and they can't manage shit, They all have
Mhm.
cell phones, dude. They have supermarkets. There's cars on the road. Their life doesn't look different than yours. The problem is that they didn't build any of it, so therefore they have no. Well, this conversation can go deeper than that, possibly, but they have no investment in it, and they don't. They just can't manage it. But any place you go in the world, other than a couple of little teeny locations, there's parity. So
Relatively, yeah.
relatively, but I'm saying that you can find cell phones at every corner of this planet.
Yes.
It's not like you have people in South America who are, living in huts. Well, there are some, but it's a insignificant number, dude.
And it's by choice.
And it
Most of
is
them, they
well, they
choose to do
make
that way.
money off of that hut dwelling from tourists coming in, right?
Yeah.
But it's I'm just saying that but it's always been that way.
Right. No, you're
We
right.
you know
The people misunderstand Rome. Rome's great advancement was its law, was how its ability to structure society was beyond most people at the time. I mean, there's a reason why we base almost all of our laws off of Roman laws. They were very, very good at it. Very, very good at it. And because they were very, very good at it, it allowed them to have such a big, powerful, diverse empire that stretched across, most of the civilized world or a big chunk of it at the time. That was the main reason. The other thing was obviously they were very good builders, exceptional builders. Their engineering is still used all over Europe today. So, like I've been over even in the Middle East, and they still use their aqueducts in some places. Like it's crazy. These things are 2,000 years old or close to it. Some of them, and they still work. They just work. They simply still work. So
yeah,
why wouldn't they keep using them? Uh,
sure.
it's crazy when you think about it, but that's really the main thing. But you can go to India and they have stuff that's just as old or older. You can go to China, they have stuff that's just as old or older that wasn't destroyed by the damn communists. Uh, these sorts of things just reinforce your point, right? So like the idea that we're gonna like, I don't know, it's gonna be very interesting to see what happens over these next 30 years because I've been saying this for a very long time, and Trump's rhetoric has been echoing it, which is interesting. We're on the cusp of either the worst dark age maybe we've ever had as a species if we let one force win, or the greatest golden age we've ever had as a species, where we do things that we thought not even 50 years ago was complete fiction, never could happen. Uh, and yet we'll be doing them on a regular basis, like fusion power, for instance. That's one of the big ones.
Sure.
When we get the power of the sun in the palm of our hand, as Doctor Octopus famously said, I mean that's the world changes in a way we don't even. Most people's brains can't even rationalize. They can't understand how quickly everything changes as soon as power no longer is an issue. It's just not an issue anymore. It's done. It's
Yeah.
solved. It's just solved. It's a solved problem. It's kind of like fertilizer. It's a solved problem. This problem is solved. Um, it would be a fertilizer level event. We were talking about population. The reason we had this population boom over the last century or so, about 2 centuries really, is fertilizer and farming techniques and understanding these things. If fertilizer is the big one, there might not be a singular thing besides agriculture itself that changed human civilization more than fertilizer. I mean, it was a
Mhm.
massive population boom immediately because food was easier. There's more food. More food, more people. It's very simple. You talk about equations, more food, more people. That's how it works. More food, stronger people, better people, smarter people, people who live longer, people who can do more. The you've mentioned this before, and I've mentioned it too. Japan in the last 100 years, they've gotten taller. The Japanese,
Oh,
especially the
much.
men.
Yeah, much
Yeah,
taller.
it's because they got more food.
Yeah, they got
That's
better
it.
food. Yeah, no, no,
They
they
got better food.
don't get me on that. Um, but no, to give an example of this kind of misunderstanding of parity, and the fact that the whole world is involved in this conversation, right?
Yes.
Is I'll give you a good example. In 1963, there was a movie came out called The Fall of Rome. Now, there's a book you can
Mhm.
read about it, and there's a whole bunch of nonsense, but it's just talking about the Hollywoodization of history and the fact that so many people on this planet, the history they know is from Hollywood, not from actual history,
Yes,
right?
not reality.
Not reality. And I'll give you a good example. And this movie is perfect because it's the image the average person has in their head. Now, what
Mhm.
was the big principle that was going on at that time? You had you had basically an argument that hey, we need the Roman Empire is enormous now. We really need to start letting other people become citizens.
Mhm.
Because it's just simply the growth of an empire, and you had the old guard who was like, no, 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 no. If you do that, you'll ruin the value of becoming a Roman citizen, and all of that. And of course, in the end, the what they call the barbarians ended up saying, no, we're going to take our rights and conquered them and because Rome didn't fall, it just converted into a Christian nation, right? A Christian
Yes.
controlled the Holy Roman Empire. But now, well, my point is this: in the movie, there's an important scene where you have a delegation of Romans, led by a centurion, actually. Of course, keep in mind, centurions are not what you think they were. They were actual more like managers or mayors or governors. They're
Right.
not this is like they're not most time people have this image that a centurion is like a sergeant. That's not
Mhm.
accurate at all. They're more like a
Mhm.
governor, right?
Mhm.
So you had these centurions. You had a famous Greek guy at the time, a philosopher, and you had a whole bunch of German so-called barbarian representatives. And in the movie, they showed, of course, the Roman and the who hated Greek as dressed like everybody else. But all the barbarians were dressed, of course, in Hollywood barbarian dress, just looking scraggly as hell, right?
Probably dirty, I'd assume. They
Dirty,
were very dirty.
scraggly,
Yeah.
stupid. Now, keep in mind the word barbarian, even though we use it differently, literally means a person who speaks a different language, is what it
Right.
means. A
Yeah.
non
Foreigner.
your language speaker, a foreigner, right?
Alien.
Alien, right? But now, in reality, that conversation, that meeting in front of the Senate, did actually happen. We have full
Mhm.
documentation of it because the Romans were pedantic as hell. Now,
Pedantic people.
we know exactly who was at that meeting and who were speaking to the Senate, and we can go and look at it. And of course, the reality is the Roman Empire was really built by the Germans anyway, right?
Right. The Germanics.
That's the reality. Well, the height and breadth and beauty of the Roman Empire
Mhm.
was under the German tutelage, not the
Okay.
Palladians, right? But if you actually did that scene correctly, those Germans would have been dressed a lot better than the Romans.
Right.
The reality of it, because at that time the Romans had become incredibly stagnant and
Mhm.
so clingy to their old traditions. Does that sound familiar to you?
Sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it does.
Curious.
Well, anyway, let's move away from this moron. I mean, my goodness, this is the most stupid thing I've ever seen, and I'm glad no one else died. Some people are hurt. Hopefully, it's not life altering. I hope. But because buildings can be repaired, glass replaced. I hope those four injured people aren't so badly injured. But this is one of the stupidest humans I've ever seen,
It's
and he's not
amazing.
alone.
We're talking about Rome, the fall of Rome, as we call it, because while it wasn't a fall like Hollywood portrays it, it was still the loss of that nomenclature anyway.
Well, the
Um,
empire
but
it no longer became a secular empire.
re-
Yeah.
regardless, it's interesting that anti-life cults, because a lot of people call the left a death cult. It's not a death cult.
Well,
It's
no,
an
Christians
anti-life
are a
cult.
death cult. Muslims are a death cult.
Correct. Abrahamism is a death cult.
Yeah.
These are anti-life cults, which is far worse. Death is a natural part of life. Death is, everybody's going to die. Spoiler. Spoiler, the end of your story is in the grave. I promise you. Um, and within 3 generations, your name will be forgotten like it never existed. Anyway, uh, but an anti-life cult is far worse because life is a natural part of existence for, humanity. We are alive.
Hmm.
So if you're an anti a life cult, you're much darker, much more evil. It's kind of like what we
Sure.
see now with these people, with these extinctionists. That's what they really are. They claim they're anti-extinctionists, but yet they do everything they can to make the human race a worse position. That's retarded. Um, but these sorts where I'm going with this is these sorts of people, these sorts of ideas, always come up in late Republic nonsense, or at the end of when empires are getting ready to be either conquered, collapse, or some other grand shift in it. It happened in Rome. I can't remember what they were called, but it happened in Rome. It happened. It happened in Greece, near the end of the Hellenic Great Period. These sorts of ideas come up, and I think it's really just an extreme form of nihilism that takes over the people,
Oh
probably
yeah.
from affluence. Um, and it's what we're seeing now is not new. This is why I said this
No.
once a long time ago on the internet, because somebody was out here dooming and glooming and in black pilling and talking about this is the end of everything. Every problem we face today, every enemy we battle against civilization, these anti-lifers, these psychotic globalists, all these people, they are not new. They are not presenting new arguments. The only thing different is the technological level. That's it, is industry, really. Everything our forebears and forefathers dealt with, sometimes not successfully, sometimes successfully, we are dealing with today. There is no difference between them. We already know how to handle these problems. So, Chester, earlier when you were talking about how do we handle all this violence and this thuggery,
Yeah.
we know the answer. We already know the answer. It's just nobody wants to say it, right? Because it's mean and it's not pretty and pleasant. But we know the answer. There's a reason why uh, the European peoples, the European diaspora, all of them have much lower criminality and violence, and it's because hundreds of years we cracked down on it.
Hardcore.
But my
Yeah.
point is, yeah, hardcore. My
Yeah.
point is, um, all of these problems are solvable. We just have to have the will to solve them. Every single one. The massive immigration into our countries, which nobody asked for, the invasion, let's call it what it is. The wealth disparities that are in the world, and they are a problem. The fiat currency, and that you were talking about coin clipping. There's no difference. It's a more advanced version of it. That's all it is. It's the same problem,
It is.
just on a
Yeah.
different scale. The inflation that is intentional, the usury that's all over the world. These problems are not new. The
No.
reduction in population, these are not new things. We are not This is what I'm trying to get at is we have to stop being so arrogant. We have to stop pretending that we're in some unique circumstance.
We're not.
Circumstances do not matter. Solutions matter, and the solutions have always been the same. And they will continue to be the same, and as long as we resist them as a species, as a civilization, things are going to keep getting worse.
Yeah.
But I do genuinely believe that that time is ending. Because every so often, Chester, every so often, the barbarians, quote unquote, the Germans, did exactly what I'm about to say. Somebody eventually is like, all right, that's enough of that shit,
Yeah.
and
And
comes and corrects the record,
that's
comes and
right.
rights
Yeah.
the ship.
Yeah. And that's what the Germans were upset about. You see,
Yeah,
the real conversation, not the Hollywood one. They were upset
right.
because keep in mind there was no city called Rome, right? That place we call Rome now was renamed that a little while back. That's not that it's please stop with the illusion of Rome in Italy, okay? But what the Germans were upset about was the fact that there was so much decadence, and they had become
Yep.
very devout Christians by this time, and
Yep.
the Italians were debauched. There was homosexuality everywhere, transgenderism, drug use. The women had no were unchaste. This is what was
Human
pissing them off.
sacrifice.
Human sacrifice, yeah, they were really didn't like it. And when Rome fell, all that actually happened was the Germans went in and put an end to it, moved the capital up to oh, I can't remember that German city. Damn it, it's gone now. They destroyed it in World War II. But
Hmm.
that's where the center was,
Conveniently.
conveniently. And now they've moved forward, and then they move forward with enacting their stuff, and it lasted for a few hundred years because that seems to be the length of attention that humans have is a few hundred years.
Yes.
And then of course we could have had the complete end of the Holy Roman Empire if it weren't for Charlemagne, which is of course, a whole nother conversation. But yeah, but that's what they were pushing against. The same thing we're having trouble with now: debauchery.
Yep.
That's what they
Yes.
were against.
Degeneracy. It is
And
my grand argument for the devil
yeah,
because it just keeps coming back.
now here we have a situation where the left doesn't even want to talk about it. And of course, they control most of the media, and they don't want to talk about this absolute idiot and his idiot idea, which comes out of progressivism. But yet, on the other side, we have this fucking argument.
Oh, hang on a second. I'm in my kitchen. Hang on. I'm coming. Hang on, chat. I'm coming. I promise. Here we go. First Afrikaners arrive in U.S. under radically redrawn refugee program. That's a lot of R's in a row.
That is a lot.
Uh,
That's a lot of
that's a
R's.
lot of R's
A
in a
lot of
row.
R's.
Is that a man, a woman? Miss Bustilio,
Yeah, it is a one.
refugee program.
Zimena. Very
Zemena.
Persian name. Um,
Um,
yeah,
this is very interesting because you
it
want to
is.
talk about a masked off moment.
Yeah,
50 people or 60 people, whatever it is. It was
59.
it was a handful basically.
Yeah,
A plane, not even a plane full, arrive, and the left and its establishment and the NGOs and all these people who are supposed to be Christians talking about they've been on their high horse in their sanctimony about how every refugee is welcome because
yeah,
Jesus was a refugee even
yeah.
though he wasn't. I don't know where
No,
they got that
don't know
from.
where he's a
Um,
royal actually, but okay.
he had nothing to do with refugees, but okay. Um, and it's the right thing to do because somewhere in the Bible it says to welcome refugees. Da 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 da. Apparently, unless they happen to be white Christians, then they just get to die for being daring to be born in a place where their forefathers lived for hundreds of years and didn't oppress anybody. They built the country themselves. And they're wait a minute, wait, this is getting off the rails. I thought it was about slavery and something about white people hating black people or something. But South Africa's none of that. None of that happened until very late in the situation when the what are they called? What's the name of that tribe? Came marching on in there, pretending
The
like they own the
Butus
place.
or the Zulus?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of them. One of those nonsense words. Came marching up in there, pretending like they own the place, even though they never lived there. They had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I do believe the Dutch were ended up in South Africa in 1625, I think, if my
I think
memory
that's correct.
serves.
Somewhere in
And
that area.
they got along with the locals quite well, actually.
Yeah, that's
They
right.
made deals and all kind of stuff, and it was all above board. And it wasn't until the Butus or the Zulus who murdered their way all across North Africa and then down the East Coast came in, and the Dutch just couldn't handle it. So they brought in the British, which was, as we all know, mistake. Yeah,
Yeah, don't
and
bring in the British.
don't never bring in the British. And
Don't
of
bring in
course,
the
the
British.
British were able to push the Butu back to a point that treaties could be made. And of course, eventually the British turned on the Dutch, the Afrikaners, and of course that's where you get the Boer War because they wanted complete control, which is what the British do. And of course, then you have the Afrikaners, the Dutch, being blamed for all the ills, which I would say was mostly British law that came into play. But the simple fact of the matter is, under apartheid, yeah, I'm going to say this
Mhm.
controversial thing.
Uh-oh.
If a black man wanted to get medicine, he could. If a black man wanted to get food, he could. If a black
Mhm.
man wanted to go and get land and buy a house, start a business, anything normal in life, he could. The only thing he couldn't do was go into the gated, protected white areas that were gated and protected so they all didn't get murdered, which hasn't
That's
changed,
correct.
by the way. It's just become harder not to die, harder to
That's
live, excuse me. Um, but now what do we have under Nelson Mandela and his ANC government? What do we have? We have nobody can get medicine. No one even has electricity day to day. No one can actually get the food they need unless they grow it themselves. There's crime everywhere. There's murder everywhere. It is the murder capital of the planet.
Mhm.
People have to have gates in front, on the front of their house, and in their house just to survive a night, right? And this isn't
That's right.
just the white people, this is everybody, right?
Yep.
It's a complete failure. The simple fact of the matter is the black Africans in South Africa today are screaming, we want apartheid back.
Yep. A lot of them are.
There's your truth, right? But nevertheless, these people who have been abused horribly have been pulled in, but you have all these racists showing their head. And boy, howdy, There's a lot of them. That freaking dumbass Don Lemon, right? You see him? That guy's a racist, dude. He's hardcore racist.
Yeah.
How dare you, refugees and stuff like that. Well, yeah, how dare you bring in white refugees and you're not letting other refugees? Who said we're not letting refugees in? In Trump's very short term, he's been in there a few months, he's already brought in nearly 10,000 refugees.
Yep.
What are you talking about?
Which
These
I would,
absolute
uh,
idiots, man.
if I was Trump, I wouldn't. I would bring these people in and tell the rest to kick rocks. We brought enough of them in.
Yeah, but if people are
These people,
legitimately in need, right?
eh, they can stay in their
Well,
country.
I
We can
get your
support them.
point, but I'm just saying that that's not what Trump's doing. Okay.
No,
Um,
yeah,
so,
exactly.
so you have all these racists just being, oh my God, white people, right? It's insane. But then this right here, someone needs their ass kicked. What the hell is the Episcopal Church? Please explain to me what the hell they're doing with all these gay and lesbian priests, and now they're not going to help white people. I mean, what the hell is going on with the Episcopal Church? Someone please help me.
Um, they're evil. That's it. They've been co-opted by evil. This started in the American Protestant churches about 80 years ago. You could go back even further if you want to go back to Schofield and his Bible, but it was really kicked off right around the time, I think in the middle of World War II, actually, but maybe near the end. And basically, the idea was very similar to what Hitler had done. The government sent out agents to co-opt these big church organizations. And they did this through various means, whether bribes or just sometimes straight threats, for the purpose of if there was ever a civil unrest in America, they would use their pulpits to try and quell it. That was the idea. This is still, by the way, the normal doctrine of the United States government. It wasn't until Donald Trump's first term where this was actually repealed, this idea. But as far as I know, it wasn't fully repealed. Who knows? What the federal government's a mess. Uh,
True.
Regardless, they were co-opted, and they did so at the behest of Zionist organizations and just the federal government, who wanted to keep the peace as much as they possibly could. Now, what happened to the Episcopals is more to do with the globalist Zionists infiltrating and corrupting this institution to the point now where it's not even really a Christian. I mean, they're wearing the skin of a Christian
They don't
organization, but
look
there's
like it though. Yeah.
very little about them that are Christian
Yeah.
or have anything to do with Scripture at
Right.
all. The fact that I'm pretty sure the Episcopals, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, then so be it. But I know many of the Protestants at that level are this way, have female pastors. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but the book says no. Apostle Paul himself says no. No female pastors. Sorry. They don't get to lead churches. They can lead women in service and worship. They can lead children in worship. That's fine. But they're not supposed to lead men in worship, which means they can't lead a church. So the fact that all these churches have these female pastors, I know that offends people and their delicate sensibilities because I know one who's really good. That's fine. But the Bible says what it says. If you're going to follow the book, follow it
Right.
or shut up.
Well, yeah, and the main reason for that is a priest's actual job is to maintain the infrastructure of their society.
Right.
It's not really what it's become. Um, and therefore the when you have the priest, preacher, whatever you call it, and the deacons and whatever you call them, having
Bishops.
their weekly meetings about how to spend our money, how to maintain this, what needs to be built, that's mainly what their job is. And of course, that's something
Mhm.
that men do. Women counsel in the house; they counsel the family, the community, the society, right?
And
That's
their
the
husband.
main purpose of it. But my point
Yep.
being is, we get all kind of refugees, right? Lots of them,
Yep.
and some of them have value, and some of them don't, right?
These
And
ones do.
these are amazing farmers. We should be very
Yep.
happy to be getting these people.
We should get them
Um,
all. We should gobble them all up. Bring
we
them all here.
should, but they want to stay and fight, and I respect that. But
We should arm them.
maybe well, that doesn't
We
ever
should give
go.
them
That just
tanks.
that never goes very
We should
well.
give them planes. Yeah, but we don't ever do it with white people. We always do it with a bunch of brown people and Muslims and these savages. Maybe if we did it with some white Christians, some good things would happen.
Maybe, but my point being is this: they're going on and on about the fact that, well, you're taking all these illegal immigrants out of the country. What is this? Well, the first word you said is the one you should be focused on there: illegal. You see,
That's right.
this is what we
That's right.
call legal immigration. right?
I'm not even gonna make the legalistic argument. I want these people here. You know why? Because they're much more like me than some random Mexican or random whatever from
Well,
South and
they
Latin
and they
America.
bring actual value with them.
They bring unbelievable knowledge, they bring unbelievable skills, they share a faith with me. They may not all of them share my same language, but they do share my
oh, they
ethnicity and
all
my
speak
race.
English, dude. They all speak
Why
English.
why in the world would I not if you're gonna make me choose, right? If you're gonna make me choose, I'm gonna choose them every
Yeah, no,
time. Why would I?
I get your point, but I'm trying to be a little more magnanimous. And
I'm not.
but I know you're not. But here's the thing, though. They keep going on about his illegal immigration, but yet Trump did something that a lot of presidents in the past would have never done. He has a program that they never talk about this, right? He's saying, look,
Yeah,
if you leave the country before we get to you, and then reapply yourselves to come in legally, you're good.
yeah,
Now, keep in mind that they don't talk about that, but he's been pushing that really hard. Self deport yourself, reapply correctly, and you can come in. That's what he's
yeah.
saying. And
Which is what I've said should be the policy forever.
but
If because
it's very
there
kind.
are
It's
some of
very
them
kind.
who are perfectly valid. They do work hard. All that's true. There is some to some level. Most of them aren't, but all that's true. So I've always said, here's the olive branch I'll give you. You've been here your whole life, let's say, right? You've been here 30 years,
Yeah.
whatever. Okay. You walk out, you stay out for a couple months, right? Go somewhere and do something for a couple months, and then you come back in the right way, and we'll make sure you get a visa to stay or whatever you need until you can get a proper
Yeah,
citizenship, proper green card, what have you.
do it
Uh,
legally, yeah. Become
but do
part
it
of
the
the
right
system.
way.
Yeah.
And we won't. And maybe if need be, we'll look at you, check you out, make sure you got a speeding ticket or something. If need be, you can get a slap on the wrist, a fine for breaking the law, for being an illegal, whatever. But regardless, that's far preferable than just full on deportation. Fuck you, you don't get to come back. Bye. So take what you can get. It's kind of like with Canada, where Trump's talking about making them the 51st state and bringing them into the union and da 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 da. Canada, that's the best offer you're getting ever. That's a great offer. Could you
Yeah.
imagine if could you imagine? And this Rome did do this. When Rome would offer this, people would be like, "Nah." You know what Rome did? They invaded them
Yeah, no, well,
or they
sure.
left
Well,
them alone.
that's a very
Yeah.
different conversation. But
But I don't think it should be. Is my point. I
yeah.
think that's exactly how America should be behaving. If we're going to survive as a country, we're going to have to follow the only other country in the history of the world that had a similar system, that had a similar predicament, that was in a similar precarious position, and we are, by the way, and do what they did. And one of the things they did is they gobbled up neighbors when they needed to.
Yeah.
And I really don't see any reason why America shouldn't. But that's
Right.
I
Well,
digress.
now, aside from the haters and these non-Christian Episcopals,
Yeah,
I know that these people will be embraced with open arms and warmth and love. I know they will be.
yeah.
And as it should be, right?
Well, you say that,
No,
you
they
say
will
that,
be. On the ground
but there's
level, they will be.
already videos on old social media of lovely, lovely black people, black women specifically, I've seen threatening these people's lives. American blacks, not making that up.
Well, go
Threatening to
ahead.
kill, threatening to kill 'em.
They're very used to dealing with your ass.
They
They
are,
know how
and
to deal with your ass.
In America, we'll get them all kinds of weapons, all
Mhm.
kinds of good shit,
Yeah.
shit they couldn't have got their hands on in South Africa. We got it
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, no,
We'll take care of
I'm not worried about that because they know how to deal with that. They do.
Yeah, they're used to it.
But I just the hypocrisy is what bugs me. It's the hypocrisy from this to that,
Yeah.
right? And it's always bizarro like that.
But
Anyway,
here's the thing: for them, they're not being hypocritical because their actual real position is "fuck white people. We hate them. We want them to die."
fair enough.
So anything else that is downstream of that, it's not hypocritical. So that's why they can hold what seems to be two different positions at once because it's not really their position. It's just a downstream from their actual position, which is fuck the white man, fuck the white man, fuck the white man. That's their whole position.
It
The
is.
entire all of
When
this
it's
stuff
quite
about the
evident.
left and Marxism, all of it, when you boil it down, is white people do better than us. That's wrong, and they hate us for it.
Yeah.
That's it.
No,
That's
this
it.
is a
Envy.
mask off moment. It is a mask off moment. It's kind of like
Yep.
when the shit kicked off with Gaza, and then all of a sudden I realized that anti-Semitism is real. It's real,
Yeah.
real.
Mhm.
This is another mask off moment. Yep, they just hate white people. But
Yep.
for me, I'm glad they came. I know I wish more would, but they want to stand and fight for their place where they've been for 400 years, dude.
We should
I
arm them.
get it. But they're welcome in America. Go through the system legally, which is what's happening here. And these people will be a boon. They will be an
Arm them and
asset.
offer them drone support immediately. I'm not even being funny. This is one of the only places I would actually be okay with interventionist that style, the CIA formula.
Right,
Uh, they've people have done absolutely nothing wrong, but be born in a place that they were born in and decided to try and live normal lives and
right.
farm and not let people starve. I
Well,
have
that's
absolutely
the
no problem
irony, isn't
with
it?
yeah, no problem with our ridiculous apparatus that we use to overthrow governments all over the world all the time, being used to protect these people and maybe let them carve out something for
Yeah,
themselves because
but
that's what really needs to
I
happen.
don't think you're going to get Trump to do that though. That's kind of
No,
the
he's a
antithetical to his
pussy.
thinking
At
in that
Trump.
way. In that way, yeah.
No, he don't
Anyway,
like killing people. He doesn't like the
he
killing.
doesn't like it, yeah, and I don't blame him. But anyway, let's get out of the political and go into the entertainment world, and let's have a moment of happiness, shall we?
Moment of joy. Leaked Kung Fury? I can't read today, Chester. Kung Fury 2. Sizzle reel shows Fassbender Schwarzenegger going full 80s. Schwarzenegger's still making movies. What's he? He's got to be in his mid 70s by now, right?
Yeah, but he's not doing action. He's just like a leader. Now, Kung Fury, if you guys remember, it came out. It was a viral hit with a short movie, I think, and then there was like a Kickstarter to make a full blown movie, which they did, and it's become cult classic like instantly. It's just pure fun. It's just goofy nostalgia parody fun with this hero here, and I can't. What's his name? I think they say it here. Yeah, David Sandberg, right? It's just fun. It was a good fun movie. I remember all the hype for it. I really enjoyed it and I love the movie. It's just fun. Just good old
Mhm.
80s style fun, right? Is what it was, a throwback. And I didn't know they were working on a second one, but I'm happy to see it because like I said, it was just we need some fun, dude. We need some fun.
Yep.
We do. And speaking of that, I did see a couple of movies here, and one of those was called Havoc. I think it was called Havoc, and it was a movie with what's that Tom Hardy guy, and it was a salary movie. It had Forrest Whitaker and a whole bunch of other people. It was a salary movie, but the pacing was great because what they did. And you should go watch it. Now it has that thing we've seen recently with the CG, all the backgrounds now are CG and everything's kind of browned out because of it, right? We've been
Mhm.
seeing this. I don't like it. It's got that, so that's a hit. That's a negative. However, what they did was they had a simple little plot, very simple, and they went and hired those Malaysian guys that did the raid and did John Wick and stuff like that. Say, hey guys, here's our script. Go. And boy, did they go! Go watch that movie. I mean, the CG thing is a hit on it, but I'm telling you, it's a salary movie as well. But that movie's pacing is great. They just just violence, violence, and it's wonderful. But this right here is much more tongue-in-cheek, fun violence, and it's just happy, dude. I'm glad they're coming out with it because we need more fun. We need more fun. We got too
We
much of
do, in
this
fact.
nonsense.
More
So
fun is good,
here's Arnold. He's Mr. President.
Mr. President.
See
There was a
the
time when people really wanted them to change the Constitution so he could run for president.
well, to be fair, California was a little bit better than it is now. A little bit.
Well, that's not saying much.
No, they've gone downhill quite a bit since the Reagan years. But then again, it's kind of Reagan's fault, really. But
Mhm.
anyway, you've got old Schwarzenegger here playing. He's just doing a little cameo, and there'll be tons of cameos in this movie, of course. I guess Fassbender, maybe he's doing some action with him. But yeah, yeah. This guy is a great stuntman. Is more normally what he does. Sandberg, he's a stuntman. You've seen him many times. You just didn't know it. But
Yep.
of course, he's a perfect choice for this kind of film. But I just put this in here simply because it's pure fun. It's
We
meant
get to
to,
have fun at the theater again,
yeah.
folks. fun
Yeah, no.
times.
Well, I don't know if this will go direct to streaming or not. Uh, but
We'll
uh,
see.
but I'm because a lot of things are right, especially if Amazon is involved. They're just like, screw the theater. They're kind of done with it, it seems. But I
What
just put,
Amazon should do, and I'm surprised they haven't, is buy the theaters.
eh, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
actually surprised because they could cut out so much of the middleman. They would have the whole system on lock. Because one of the reasons why these movies don't make the money that they want them to, and what have you, is because they don't have the system on lock. There's so much distribution. There's so many hands in the till. Is what
yeah.
I'm
That
getting
that
at,
is true.
Chester.
That is
Take
very
all the
true.
hands out of the till and let's just let it be a big event. Amazon could do all kinds of really cool shit. One of the coolest things about Amazon, as much as it is a little bit frightening, is how much it does. You can do
Yeah, yeah,
with an Amazon Prime account, you can do all sorts. You have endless entertainment. You get free shipping pretty much anywhere in the country. Usually 1 to 2 day shipping. That's amazing. And imagine if you could expand that and you could expand it to like live events, like movies if they own their
hmm
own theaters and stuff.
You
That could
know,
be cool.
speaking of Amazon, one of the videos my wife watched, or well, we watched yesterday, was cops being called. They were airport cops, but cops. And
Feds.
there was an Amazon warehouse. Obviously, it's attached to the airport, right, for convenience. And
Hmm.
now this was the situation. You had this black girl, and she wasn't violent, which is good. There was no
Hmm.
violence. But this is the situation, right? She came into work, and her supervisor said, "You're not scheduled for today." And she's like, "I don't fucking care." And she went and started working. The lady
Yep.
argued with her, and her area boss were like, "Yeah, you're not supposed to be here. You're not scheduled." And she refused. She was like, "Screw you," and she just did her thing. So they called the cops. The cops come in talking to her, and she said, "Well, I was scheduled. I have my app. It says I was scheduled." They said, "All right, let me see it." And of course, you couldn't find it, even though if you're working in a place where your schedule is on an app, that is a one-click button on your phone. We
Yeah.
all know
Yeah.
this.
You know where that. You
We
know where
all
that
know what
is.
that
Yeah.
is. We all know this,
You know where
right?
that is.
So she's full of shit. She probably did see when the cop said this. She probably hit it, sort of that she made a mistake, right? But instead of just saying, "Oh, I made a mistake," and leaving, and that being the end of it, she kept arguing. She kept on and on and on. The cop gave her a billion freaking opportunities to just leave, but eventually she got arrested because she refused. Because she's right, you're wrong, right? But here's the thing. Now, when I'm watching that, I'm like, what would a normal human do? Right? A normal human come in, their supervisor says you're not scheduled for today. What would you do? You may say, "Well, it says here on my thing I'm supposed to." Yeah, nope, you're not scheduled. Got to go. So what do? You go to the office and you say, "Well,
Mhm.
there seems to be some snafu with my scheduling. I just want to make sure everything is correct," and just deal with it there. Right? That's what a normal human would do. But
Yep.
yet that's not what she did. She's like, "Fuck
No.
you, boss. I'm gonna go work and do what I want to do anyway." Who
That's right.
does this?
Uh, very, very entitled people. Like, why would you? But think about it for a second. Why?
Yeah,
Why was she
why?
so
You gotta
adamant about
lose the
working?
job. You gotta lose the
Like,
job, right?
well, not only that, if they're telling you they're not going to pay you, you want to work for free? I don't understand. What are you
It
doing?
is weird.
Like,
But I mean, a normal person would be okay and would go to the office. That's what you would do. You would
or
go
just
to
go
the
home.
office,
Okay, oh, I'm
and
not
then
scheduled. I
you
thought I
make
was
a phone
scheduled. My
call,
bad.
or if
Peace
that's a
out.
situation, if it's you just screwed it up, you go home. But I mean, if
Yeah.
there's a legitimately a misscheduling, then you go home. There was another one she's watching, and this girl was on an airplane, this black girl, and she her ticket had like 37E or something was her seat, but her
Mhm.
online app was saying 13E or 13I or something like that, or whatever it
Yeah.
was. And clearly there was a problem, a legitimate one, because she refreshed it and she showed the policeman was trying to be helpful. He showed the
Mhm.
captain and stuff like, "Look, there was a snafu that went on here, right?" And legitimately, and the captain was like, "I don't care. She was told to move. She's been nothing but disruptive. She's been nothing but a problem for us. We want her off this plane." The cop's like, "Oh well, all right." So he went and told her the situation, that like they don't care. They want you off. Let's go get you another flight and get you home, right? And she's
Yeah.
like, "No, no." So what do they have
Yeah,
to do? They had to empty the entire plane
that's right.
so they could take her off.
For
And that
safety.
was a
Yep.
situation where she wasn't wrong, but
Yeah.
right?
But you're on an airplane in the United States of America and pretty much every country ever. The captain is God.
They're
If
very
he says you get off the
sensitive.
plane,
Yeah.
you get off the plane.
Yeah. And there
It
were
doesn't
enough.
matter if you're right. He's right because it's his plane at that point. He's responsible for every life on that plane. If he says you leave, you leave.
That's true.
You don't have to like
Yeah.
it, but it's just the way it is.
And there was like 2 or 3 we saw. A lot of them are at the airport she was watching. But there were 2 or 3 we saw that they were too drunk to be allowed on the plane, which I get. We all
Excellent.
get that. But now
Excellent.
you have a black belligerent drunk lady, and the
Yeah.
cops have to deal with it. It's weird because you feel bad for the cops, dude.
Yeah.
You do, because they're so patient. They try so not hard to be nice. But my goodness, dude. But yeah,
This is
that
where the fatigue is coming from, Chester,
yeah,
because it's gotten to the point where even people who, like me, who loathe the institution of the American institution of police,
it's
loathe
broken.
it.
Yeah, it's
It's completely and utterly dysfunctional. It should not exist. I digress. Even I, on a human level, is like I get it, bro. You want to pull that gun and just shoot
sure,
them.
Alan.
You're just tired. It'd just be so much easier if you could just shoot them right here,
Yeah,
just drag them out, put a gun in their gut, and get them out of the way. No, all these problems would be. I get it. You're not
yeah.
going to do
And you're
that, but I
surprised you don't
get
see
it.
more of that kind of stuff, really, right? Right.
Right. It
But
does happen sometimes.
yeah,
They eventually are just like, all right.
like there was
Out.
this big fat black lady, right? She's drunk, and they like, we can't let you on the plane. You're too drunk, which I think we all get, right? If you're drunk at the moment, maybe you don't get it, but we get it, right?
Yeah,
But you know what her stickling point that she wouldn't shut up and just constantly bitching about. You know what she was mad about? She
tell me.
she was mad that they like, okay, you won't let me on the plane, so give me a hotel for the night. And it's like, how are they responsible for your drinking? And they say, I ain't got money for a hotel room. You had money for drinking.
Yeah.
And
You
the
had plenty
cops
of
are,
money to get drunk.
yeah, and the cops are like, just stay in the airport overnight. People do it all the time. She said, I ain't staying in here. I got to get me a room. Why don't you give me a room? She going on and on and on about it. And of course, they took her out nicely outside the airport and said, okay, and left her. They didn't even arrest her. What does she do?
I was back in.
Damn right. And gets arrested. I mean, God damn, dude. But anyway, this is a bit of fun. The first one was great. If you haven't seen Kung Fury, sorry, go watch it. It's just good, tongue in cheek '80s nostalgia. Anyway, let's move on to just the
And
best.
Busby, I believe the word you were searching for was nigger.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Well, I was told I wasn't allowed to say that word.
Says who?
I don't know, the internet.
What happened?
Welcome.
But it had a different meaning when I was a kid anyway. Dude. I mean, the simple fact of the matter, when I was a kid, that word meant, ghetto, troublesome, wretched, ratchet, you know,
It still does.
dumbass. Yeah, no, I figured it did, because it had nothing to do with color when I was a kid anyway. But nevertheless, Grimlock, why don't you go ahead and read this one? This is perfect for timing.
Oh no, no,
Perfect
no.
timing.
I'm not reading this bullshit. You will not pull me into this bullshit.
I can't. I will.
I've already said my piece about this.
You have little
I
faith.
want I've actually want no, because I'm at the point where I want the MCU to burn.
I am too. We kind of. I think most of us are. That's right,
Oh,
Thunder. Read it.
you're done cheerleading for Feige? It is
Shut
inevitable.
up, Grimlock. I never liked that guy. Oh goodness. Anyway, go ahead, Thunder. No. Okay, I'll read it. X-Men
I'll say
reboot.
they're trying to
Back.
nig up the X-Men.
They are.
I'm back. I'm back. I'm
Right.
back. I'm back. I'm back. X-Men reboot rumored to cast Black Professor X and Magneto.
Okay. Now,
At the How Comics, if they do it, they should call him Mag Nigger. Just have the balls. Go all the
but here's the thing, though. Now for Magneto, they want Denzel Washington, and he is in talks. So this isn't just a bullshit rumor. There's actually some truth behind it, right? Now we love Denzel. Denzel's one of my favorite actors. He's fun. We all like Denzel. There's
I
so
Yep.
like
many
Denzel,
great
but if
movies.
they do this, I will pray for this movie to feel like Drew McIntyre in 2024.
Oh no, that's sad. That's sad.
I'm
But
praying for Fantastic Four to fail. You think I'm lying? I get down on my knees and beg Christ for that movie to fucking.
Jesus, Professor Malcolm X. Ooh, that's rough.
Oh, that's
That's rough. That's rough. But of
if only
course,
they'd listen.
but the
If
problem
only
you
they'd
have
listen.
with Denzel Washington as Magneto is he doesn't make the best Jew. You know,
It's a bit of an
because
issue.
it is
It's a bit
because
of an
one of the
issue.
big things of Magneto is he's a Jew during the Holocaust, right? I mean, that's kind
That's
of a
right.
big part of his personality,
Yes.
right? So
Well,
there's
unless they
this.
give Magneto some kind of longevity power, we're kind of running out the clock on that formula. Like,
And
that
then
was a long time ago, folks. They would be very old at this point.
yeah, well, I mean, he's a mutant, therefore he's always has a perfect body, yada yada yada. They got this
Uh-huh.
Coleman Domingo to play Professor Xavier. I don't know this guy. You guys know this guy? I don't know him at all.
Nope.
No, I don't watch. I
Never
don't
heard of him.
watch BS on TV. He could
Yeah,
be good, but I don't.
he
I
could.
don't
Well,
watch current
he
BS.
could be a really good actor. Like I said, Denzel's. We love Denzel. He's fun. But the point being is really? I mean, this is the girl they want to do Jean Grey, and fine, she's cute. But once again, why are we doing the same storyline anyway? Why don't we do something different? We've all seen this couple times, twice already. We don't need thrice. Why don't you go do another part of the mutant story? Because there are a lot, you know. It doesn't have to be just Professor X. There's plenty of things. So once again, that's the main problem, Kevin. But really, I mean, come on, dude. I mean, did they really?
Because diseased white liberals aren't tired of using black people as their fucking football.
Well, you would think black
Y-
people would be tired of it because all they keep doing is giving them their hand-me-downs. You would think
Black
black
people
people would
are
be
tired,
pissed.
but black people are tired. The problem is we have more niggers than we do black people.
You think?
Mm,
You think that's true, though?
mm,
Oh yes,
All right.
oh yes.
I'm not in the country. I don't know. That's unfortunate. When I was a kid, that wasn't true.
mm.
That wasn't true.
Well,
I
they've
grew up
been
with lots of
outbred.
black people, and they were just normal Americans. They weren't
Yep.
like that at all.
Yep.
So, but I didn't live in the ghetto, so maybe that's why.
Neither did I, and I still know that this is the case.
Actually, the probably my best friends at that time were the Noka boys, and their dad was a great custom car builder. My goodness, the beautiful he built this Chevelle, dude. That when you hit the gas, that thing would literally do a wheelie. It was cool. But he had a big old monster truck. But anyway, and they all worked at the textile mill, which has been there for hundreds of years. They're just normal dudes,
Here's
right?
already you can already hear the argument too. It's gonna be, well, you didn't care about Sam Jackson as Nick Fury. You didn't care about
No,
that.
because it worked.
Yeah, that was 20 years ago.
And it was also
One.
a background
Um,
character. These are
Yeah,
the fun.
and
one because that was already explained. You fucking tourist. That
yes.
he was originally in the Ultimate Universe and he was brought in to the main universe as his son.
Yeah,
That's
no,
why it
that's
didn't matter.
they did that. That's true. But this right here is just insane, and I can't believe that they're still doing this shit. I can't.
They're gonna keep doing it until somebody forces them to stop. They keep losing money. They're gonna keep losing money because it's a money laundering scheme. I mean, obviously, at this point. I bet you these movies only cost about a tenth of what they claim. I bet you if somebody looked, I bet you if somebody did an actual investigation, somebody in the government, which is what they should be doing, they're probably about a tenth. Because look at these special effects. Even this new Superman movie. Did you see the new trailer they put out? The
Yeah, it's
special
not
effects
good.
are terrible.
It's not
They
good.
look like it looks like a CW show from 20 years ago.
Yeah,
They're
no,
horrible.
no, and we had better
Horrible.
CG 20 years ago, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
10 years
So
ago, much better than that.
where's this money going? It's going somewhere. I've seen AI videos with better CG.
Yeah,
That probably took the guy 5 minutes to make, if that.
yeah.
So what's going on here,
No,
Hollywood? Where's this money really going?
it's a problem.
Because it doesn't make any sense. How does Disney continuously lose money on these movies? I mean, this year alone, they had to have lost almost $1 billion cold on these
Oh,
films,
more. There are upwards of
if
$10
not
billion
more.
in the hole.
Unless those numbers are a lie.
Right.
which is more
Well,
likely.
a lot of things are a lie, and we need to kind of get a come into Jesus moment in regards to these things. I've mentioned this
Yeah.
before, but it's a perfect example. Your cell phone, your smartphone, which you probably spent $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 on, cost them under $100 to make. In most
Oh
cases,
yeah.
they cost them $10 to make. ten
It costs
dollars.
nothing basically. Yeah.
$10. So the markup is insane. It's insane. And you're paying for that brand luxury. It's like there was a controversy that came out with some French brand. I can't remember what it was, but it's like a $30,000 bag. Who the hell needs a $30,000 leather bag?
Niggas.
No one. Not a single person on the planet needs one,
No.
but these females, and as our boy Grimlock just said, apparently believe that they need these things. What's weird is actual rich people. I'm not talking about like social media rich or celebrity rich. I'm talking rich people. They don't even buy that shit. They don't buy. They don't
No,
spend up
but rich
$30,000 on a
people don't.
bag.
They get it. They get stuff tailor made, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, that's a little thing I've learned from rich people, right? Have your things
Yep.
tailor made, and I do quite a bit of that. And the funny thing about tailor made, it's cheaper in the long run.
Yeah, it lasts forever,
Because you don't
or damn
understand rich
near.
people. They're rich because they're freaking tight asses, dude.
Yep. Extreme tight asses.
Yeah.
Um,
Um. Yeah.
they never spend their own money if they can avoid it,
Yeah.
right? So what you see is this. It's kind of the guy who owns basically every luxury brand of clothing and whatever is all owned by one company, one guy, and he just rebrands or has multiple brands that he does the same, basically the same thing.
Right.
But they'll just straight tell you that it's not wealthy people that buy this stuff. It's people who want to look wealthy. That's who buy this stuff. It's got nothing to do with actual wealthy people. I mean, look at them. Look at these tech billionaires. Look at Elon Musk. Look at how he walks around. He's the richest man in the world, allegedly. Look how he walks around.
Yeah.
He ain't walking around all blinged out in the
No.
nicest suits and da he ain't doing that. He don't
No.
care
He
because
lives.
real rich people do not care.
He
They
lives
don't
in a
care.
tiny house,
Yeah,
literally.
or
Um.
he sleeps in his office,
Yeah.
right? Like he doesn't care.
Yeah. No. He's a bit of extreme, but I think it was Hermes. That was the company I was thinking of. But I mean, honestly, if you want a designer bag, if you need a brand, really one of the better quality things for a bang for buck is like Coach. Coach is really well made and it's affordable. Anybody can get a Coach. I mean, it's going to cost you a few $100, but it's good. It is pretty solid quality. Now,
When
I'm
you
sure
get
these Hermes are
actual
amazing quality, but I mean, it's not worth $30,000.
No, no. There's very few things actually worth $30,000. When you get when you get actual fuck you money, you do what you want. You dress how you want. You go where you want. That's kind of the point of it, right? Like like Jack Dorsey's an example. The guy who made Twitter. When was the last time you saw him in something nice? He doesn't care. Why would he care? He's
He
got
doesn't
enough
have
money to
to.
not care.
Yeah, he
Yeah, he
does.
doesn't have to care
Now,
anymore.
it is interesting what Grimlock just said, because it does seem that it is that hip hop culture that is really pushing the brand name stuff. And
Oh,
it's like, well, why though?
the brainwash. They've been brainwashed.
Yep,
Simple
pretty
as.
much.
Brainwashed into material consumerism. That's it. Which by the way, 20 years ago or so, really it was longer, but the studies started coming out around 2006, 2007, 2008, talking about how those sorts of people of all races, but definitely of the darker complected races, are very, very susceptible to this form of brainwashing. And that's why you see so much marketing has shifted towards them, or towards the way they speak, or towards just using them all over ads and things like this. It's intentional. They know what they're doing. They're going after what they call whales. They believe that they can milk
Right.
this demographic dry
And
because
they
they'll
are.
they'll buy this shit
And they are.
that nobody actually needs or wants. And honestly, think about it, a $30,000 bag. Just take half of that and invest it in anything that's a good investment. And pick one. There's a litany of them, and you would be better off in 5 years than with that $30,000 bag.
Mm. No, no, it's not. It's not sensible. I would never do such a thing. But it is the hip hop culture does seem to be incredibly materialistic. And it's, of course, we need money, but it's really, there are more important things in life, guys, than money.
Correct.
I mean, it just is
You
what it
cannot
is.
take it with you. This is what I was getting at earlier when I was at the store. Because I looked at the number this guy was breaking down that this one man that he knew died young, unfortunately, in his like mid 60s, but he had like 600,000 cash just chilling in his bank account. And basically he broke it down that money ended up being he basically worked for like 9 years for free, give or take,
Right.
but because he had all that money because he never did anything with it, it just sat there. It didn't even really accrue that much interest, right? Because that's not enough to really do so. And so basically he worked for years for nothing. And what did he have to show for it? He was dead anyway. My point is materialism, consumerism, all these isms are very, very bad. One of the things that's happened to the black community, and it's to the white community, to just America, but definitely to the black community, is they injected it with intense consumerism. Once they destroyed the black family, one of the things they did is exactly what you're talking about, the hip hop culture and all these things
Yeah.
that
It's
glorify
sad.
all this bullshit like chains and getting your teeth grilled out and all this shit that's just such a waste of money. It's so stupid. It doesn't look good. Nobody looks
No,
better because they're wearing 75. No, sorry, Mr. T. I love you. I think you're amazing, but you look foolish with all that gold on. You look
it
foolish.
was a joke. Yeah. And he kind of leaned
Genuine
into it
rich
at the
people.
end, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he was playing a character.
Yeah.
No problem. But genuine rich people don't do that. Billionaire, like I
No,
think it was actually Kanye West who said it recently. Billionaires don't wear their gold, don't wear their money, uh,
no,
because they don't. That's
no.
true. They
And he's
invest
a
their
rich
money. That's
man
how they
for
became
sure.
billionaires.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
but it's also about practical thinking. Like, for instance, my
Yeah.
day-to-day shoe, I have, as any man, you should have a pair of work boots, you should have casuals,
Yep.
and you should have dress shoes. I mean, that every man should have that. But my day-to-day shoes are a pair of leather clogs. Yeah, I know it's because I'm in Japan. And they're handmade in Israel. Now,
Yep.
they're called Naut, right?
Jews
Uh,
are good cobblers. That's true.
they really are. But here's the
Good
thing:
cobblers.
those shoes will last me 20 years,
Yeah.
right? Now, how much you think I paid for a pair of handmade leather clogs from Israel? How much you think?
When did you buy them?
Well, I bought them, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that.
I don't know. Not that long. I don't know. Hit me with it.
$300.
That ain't bad.
That's not bad at
That
all,
ain't bad at
seeing
all.
as the fact that they will last 20 years and they have certain
Yeah.
lifetime guarantees on them,
Right.
right? But I'm just saying, if you actually go out and look for quality tailored things, you can find it. And even though it's a
Like
little bit
Ferrari.
more upfront than you might pay normally, it's how long are you going to have it, dude? Right?
Well, that's what's weird
It's
is
value.
the
It's
things
about
that
value.
they've convinced so many of these people to waste all this money on. They retain no value.
No,
Shoes don't retain value once they're worn for like
no,
if you actually use them, they lose all their value. You can flip shoes. Don't get me wrong. You can buy shoes, use them as an investment, sell them later. That's real. But if you wear them, that
sure,
defeats the purpose.
of course. But
Whereas a car, let's say you bought that Ferrari. Yes, if you put some miles on it, it's going to devalue it. But if you keep it long enough, eventually it's going to get some of that value back, if not all of it. And depending on
Ferrari
if it has
will
anything
always
special
have
about
some
it,
resale to it, yeah. But that's
yes,
not why I
it,
want it.
it, it could go up. But a car is even a bad example because most cars do lose their value very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Goes down about half as soon as you drive it off the lot, for instance. Um, Most other things, though, the only reason I'm using a car is because $30,000. My goodness, you can buy a car with that, which
Yep.
has an actual function.
A good car.
Um, so my point is, if they took all this money they waste, because it's a waste, it's an absolute waste of money, and just invested it in anything else that appreciates in value, which automobiles can if they're maintained, and depending on what they are, houses, property obviously does. It's
Boats.
never boats.
They
It's
hold a
never a
lot of
wrong
value.
idea to buy property. If you have extra money
Land,
and you're
yeah.
wondering what to do with it, buy property.
Yeah.
Just get it together, go to a bank, use it as collateral, whatever you got to do. Get that money, get that property. It is the right decision almost always. It's very rare where the market is like, nah, don't buy property
Yeah.
because it
Well,
always goes up. It
It
always in
does.
10
No,
years.
no.
I've been in this house 10 years, and my house has tripled in value.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, no, and the land is always that's how rich people stay rich, dude. They buy land.
Mm-hmm.
That was I told you my uncle told me that when I was a kid, and I took it to heart, and I have followed that game plan. And it's not hard. A lot of people are like, oh, how do you can't do that? You need
Oh,
money
it's
for
always for
that. Not
sale.
really.
Land is
Yeah.
always for sale.
If you're
And
willing,
sometimes people are willing to really work with you because they want out from under it, right? The maintenance of it,
sure.
the what have you, the taxes of it. So I know people who have gotten unbelievable deals on property where like things like, oh, they basically just took over if they have a mortgage on it or whatever, or they take over the property taxes plus a little extra and for, X amount of time, and then they just get it. You can work out deals with people, especially if they're older and they just don't want to deal with it anymore, or maybe they don't live in the area and they don't want to deal with it anymore. If you keep your nose out there and make, talk to people, you can find some crazy deals.
Dude,
Crazy
I can
deals
give
on
you an
this stuff.
example. When I was a kid in
Yep.
the late 80s, I bought a couple of properties, and one of the properties I still have, but the other one I got it for $50,000, right? Which was
Yep.
even cheap at the time because it was this, wasn't a big, the land wasn't huge, but the building on it, the house on it was an absolute rat trap. It was disgusting, right?
Yep.
What did I do? I went in there, tore everything out. I had to replace some wood here or there, right? Not as
Mhm.
much as you think you had to by looking at it. Replace some of the wood, put the sheetrock back on it, painted everything up. I flipped that thing for $180,000.
My
Right? It's a hundred
so
thousand dollar profit, by the way.
the guy who was almost I went to high school with him. His name's Derek. This guy I know named Derek went to high school with. He was the pastor's son of my church, the head pastor of my church, his son. He is now a state representative in the state of Ohio. He was almost the federal representative for my district, actually, just this last year, but he lost by like 1,000 votes. But regardless, that's how he made all his money, is he
Yeah.
just flipped properties.
Well, people seem
Um,
to forget sweat. The value of sweat. Right?
well, eventually, what he did is once he had enough, juice, he just paid contractors to do it
Sure.
because it,
That's how
save
it
him,
usually
save his
goes. Yeah.
save his body.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's absolutely. And my point is, if you're spending 30 grand on a purse, let's call it what it is. It's a
Yeah.
purse. If you're spending, 5, 6, 7, I've seen shoes even more than that, thousands of dollars on shoes. Um, if you had just not done that, and
Yeah.
instead take that money, put it over here, maybe put it in a savings or put it in something else, and just let it chill until you can accumulate more, right? You can accumulate a little more. You could easily get what you need to finance a down payment. It's okay to mortgage this stuff because you're going to sell it anyway. You get
Sure.
a down payment on it. You just get it. You get it
Yeah.
under your control, and then you increase the value. Sometimes all it needs is a coat of paint.
Yeah, no,
That's
no.
it.
I'm the person to talk to about this because I've been doing it my whole life. Yeah, just
Yep.
like your friend there, the what congressman you said.
Yeah,
I
he's a state
did
congressman.
same thing. I've been doing that my whole life, dude. No matter what else. Now there was a moment where I got a little bit too enthusiastic and I overinvested myself and got myself in a bit of
Mhm.
trouble, but I did work out of it.
Right.
Myself out of it. You know about that big deal I had where I bought up all those production companies in West Japan, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I've been doing that my whole life, dude. And it's just one example. There are other ways to do it, to do what I'm saying, but it's just about sweat labor, dude. I mean, get in
Yep.
there, get it done, and you can make a profit. You hustle. I've seen people do this with, like, say, eBay. They'll go buy some cheap thing from an
Yep.
antique store or get some piece of garbage at a swap meet, clean it up, and double, triple, quadruple their purchase power. You just got to get
Bro,
out and
that's what
do
I
it.
do.
Yeah,
I don't do it with eBay. I do it with furniture. That's what I've been doing for
yeah.
years.
Well, I'm just saying
I
there are
go
many
I go
ways.
buy couches. I go buy big sectionals. In America, they sell for a lot, and new ones are up to like $4,000 for
Hmm.
like your most basic one that isn't a
Sure.
piece of shit. You go find those brands. People are getting rid of them all the time, because people are always moving. They're always
Yep.
doing this. Or their wife, I don't like the color anymore, so they have to go buy a new one for $5,000 because she wants a different color,
Right.
and they're getting rid of their old one for a couple $100 just to get rid of it. Bing,
Yep.
bang, boom. You go grab that. You clean it up. Takes an hour or two. Relist it, and you can make. My biggest profit on a singular couch was $800 cash. 800
Yeah.
cash money,
No,
and
yeah.
it took me 2 days to sell.
Yeah, and it's
800
just
cash.
about hustling, getting out and doing it,
Yeah,
constantly being
just
at it,
do it.
right? Um,
Yeah.
Now I've got to the point now where I'm buying less properties, and mainly I have properties that are people rent or Airbnb or things like that, and they're making profit off of that. And of course, the land itself always has value, right?
Right.
So I mean, you get to a point where you go to contractor or like you said, or what have you. But I mean, there are a thousand ways to do this. It's
Hmm.
just about you getting out and doing it. It's not as hard as you think. You don't need to be rich to do these things. It helps, but you don't have to be. And
Right.
it also comes down to how you're spending your money. Like you mentioned, thousands of dollars for a pair of shoes, dude. You should never pay more than $500-600 for a pair of shoes. And if you do your research,
Unless you like really got it and it doesn't matter, like $2,000 to you is like $5 to
yeah,
us.
but
Okay, fine. Do what you want.
even though you can go to, especially in Europe, some of these, as you said, Jewish
Yep.
European cobblers or
Yep.
shoemakers, and you can get a pair of handmade shoes with the best leather, the highest end skill for like 600 bucks, dude. You don't
Yeah.
need to spend that money to get amazing quality. You don't. It's just that simple. And like tailored clothing, you can get a suit for under $1,000. You can actually get a really nice suit for 600-800 bucks. Really nice. I mean, you can choose the material made by a master. You don't need to be spending that kind of money, and you're walking around in better quality than 99% of the people around you.
Right.
I'm just
Yep.
saying. That's the reality. And people need to get into that mindset. And of course, we're on this conversation because we're talking about them blacking up the X-Men and the bling bling of the hip hop culture is why we're on this. And we should probably
So
move on, I think.
I have a question. If they make Magneto black,
Yeah.
what are the chances they bling him out?
Oh, no, no. They're going to make him the
Don't
most
give
white
these
black
retarded
men ever. Dude,
motherfuckers.
no.
I want him to. No, I almost want him to do it, just for the fact that it'll be hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I'm not taking anything Disney makes seriously ever again until they personally come to me. Until Bob Iger himself apologizes to my face for what he did to Luke Skywalker, which he's never going to do. So I will never take Disney seriously ever again, ever in the history of the world. So let's just have fun now. Let's do silly things. Like I want Magneto to have a full on chromed out helmet. Let's just do it. Let's lean into it. Give him some
Little
give him some
diamonds on the edge. Yeah.
yeah, little diamonds on there. Get him some of them get him a grill, and maybe even at one point he uses his grill as a weapon. Right, he
Yeah,
turns it
yeah.
into a weapon.
Yeah, yeah. 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 Dude, Roger, I don't got island money, dude. Islands are expensive. I've looked into it. Anyway, yeah, islands are overly priced. Here's another idiotic thing that it's happening though.
Aliens versus Predator cinematic universe in the works, says Insider. Here's the proof.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's it.
no,
That's the answer to
yeah,
that.
no,
Just
no
no.
one, no one wants it. We got a
Nobody needs
bunch
this.
of new Predator movies coming, a bunch of new aliens. There, and this person is reading between the lines and thinks that they're all going to be connected in the cinematic universe. Well, they already are. All those movies that we've been told are connected via Blade Runner. They're all in the
Yep.
same universe. We've been told this. So but they are. My point also with this is how many new freaking movies. There's two new Predator movies and a new Alien movie. And it's like, do those things really have those kind of legs? Does this are we,
They're hoping.
and they're
They're
spending
hoping.
money. This isn't into, $50,000 budget B movie they just throw on streaming, which happens with series. Um,
Hmm.
this is real money, and it's like,
They are hoping.
but people still excited about Predator and Alien movies?
No.
I'm not.
And I'm not.
I'll tell you right now, I've only ever been excited about one Predator movie, and that was the first one. The rest of them are shit. I said it. I said what I said.
Well, to be
The
fair,
second one, the second one's okay.
I kind
It
of
can
like
be
second
fun,
one. Yeah.
but compared to the first one, I mean, what are we doing here? It's like a C movie compared to the first one, in my
Well,
opinion.
and they lost the plot. They most certainly
Yes.
did. And Alien, a lot of people like the first three. But yeah, that they've screwed these things up so badly. They're not going to be able to repair it. I just can't believe that they're still pushing this stuff. And that's one of the problem. They keep throwing good money after bad. We see a lot
Yep.
of this. Um,
Yep.
and it's like, it's like they're banking on the minimum profit to make it sellable, right? And
Yep.
it's unbelievable. But yeah, that's just another example of it. But
Nobody asked for this.
no one.
Nobody asked for
And
this.
here's
They're
another
they're
thing.
banking that enough normies will go watch this bullshit. That's what they're
That's
doing.
what they're always planning on. But I mean, who cares about this stuff? But here's another movie no one asked for, by the way.
Amazon dumps Henry Cavill's Voltron to streaming, no theatrical release. Well, that don't know why anybody's surprised by that. It's
Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah,
They've wrapped production on that, by the way, down in Australia.
good, good. I hope
Yeah.
it's awesome. I genuinely hope it's awesome. I always like Voltron. Obviously, we all love Henry. He is the alpha nerd. Um, so hopefully it's great. And it is interesting how deep he is in with Amazon. Like he's doing all sorts of
Yeah,
stuff with them.
he
At this
is.
point, I wish Henry would just, if he's got projects, just go kickstart the fucking shit.
Right? I bet you he'd get funded pretty
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah. But
But
this movie
hopefully
seems to
it's
be
good.
going quite well. It seems to be quite faithful to the original Castle and the Lions and stuff like that.
Yep.
But like I said, no one was screaming for a Voltron movie. No one say, "Hey, we
If
need a
if
Voltron
it's
movie."
if it's good, I'll watch it. Just like I would like a Thundercats movie.
maybe 30, 40 years ago, but
Sure.
that generation is mostly the
Well,
generation that would have wanted to see that the most is probably like
my age.
it's been so jaded. But
Yeah. No, we
it's
are.
not even that. It's so
Well,
jaded. It's like I didn't want to.
well, because
I
the
don't want
last
none
Volt.
of it.
No, you're right, Grimlock. Because the last Voltron thing we got was ultra woke. They gayed everybody up,
Yep.
and it's
I don't
like,
think Henry's
all
going to
right,
do that.
all right, done with that, right?
No, I hope. Here's why I want this to be good. One, because Voltron's cool. I like Voltron. Two, it would be nice if Henry can win this battle because he's been fighting it alone for too long. He's trying to make these things as close to the source material as humanly possible. The reason why he left the Witcher show was because they kept fucking up, and he got tired of it.
Yep.
And he kept arguing with that
Yep.
stupid bitch right to her face, calling her a stupid bitch, I bet. And she got tired of it, hurt a little feelings, so he just left. That's why. That's what happened. Now, we don't know if he called her a stupid bitch to her face. I bet he wanted to. But we know that's what happened. And
He
he
seems
was in the
quite polite, actually.
big fight with the Warhammer. Yeah, but he's a gamer. We know he knows the gamer words, Chester. Come on.
That's true.
He got in a big fight with for the Warhammer stuff. He won that fight. It seems like. Looks like he's in charge. He won that battle. What by all accounts, this Voltron is supposed to be pretty accurate. Highlander looks like it's going to be as well. Hopefully they
Yeah, I'm
flesh the
more
lore out a
interested
little
in
bit,
that, actually.
clean
Yeah.
that shit up because that Highlander lore is a mess. But regardless, Henry's kind of been fighting this battle alone. He's the only one at that level who seems to give a shit
Yeah.
at all about source material and about trying to stay faithful. So he needs to win. We need him to win. That's why this is important. This movie needs to be great. It needs to make a bunch of money or at least get a bunch of views, however Amazon does its metrics when they don't put it on in a theater. And that needs to just be the end of it because if he doesn't, we're just going to keep losing this battle. This is what
Yeah.
we've needed for a long time. We've had the video game movies come out, the good ones finally, that try to stay relatively, faithful at least in spirit. Sonic's way off, but Mario it's just Mario. And the Minecraft movie is supposedly really fun and fairly faithful to, Minecraft's very limited lore. But
To be fair, Sonic needed that.
yeah, Sonic's lore is a mess.
Sonic needed, yeah.
But regardless, my point is, these are battles that we're winning. Henry has been at the forefront of it, and he's been taking arrows for us for a very long time.
He has.
He needs some
Yeah.
W's, and
He's-
hopefully he ends up the next James Bond since Amazon owns it, and he's
Well,
right there.
that's
We got him.
the obvious choice, but
He
got him.
won't. They're gonna pick some black twink to be fucking
Oh
Bond.
God!
They
you know
will.
what? I almost want him to because it'd be hilarious. I'm at the point now that just let it burn.
Let it
And if
burn.
they
Watch the
Yeah.
really
world
want to make
burn.
it an insufferable faggot, they'll probably get Pedro to do it.
Oh yeah, no, he's really good at that. That's for sure. But one of the
They'll
things
finally
here.
get James Bond who cries.
Oh, I'm sure. We need that. We definitely need that. But one of the things with this though is there are other people who are somewhat pushing back. I've actually been quite happy with Tom Cruise recently,
Yeah.
and because Tom gave the South Korean lady was like, we know we'd rather talk about the movie. He refused to, deal with propaganda, but
Yes.
but he did it again. I don't know. The media is probably not covering it, but the Cannes Movie Festival in France took place, and for Hollywood
Hmm.
types, actor types, that's like their Graceland, right? And they love that and cool. I have no idea. Maybe it's wonderful. I've never been to one,
A
but
gay old time.
a gay old time. But Tom was down there, and of course, the biggest news coming out of that wasn't movies. It was Robert De Niro just going on an absolute tirade after getting a lifetime achievement award or something like that on Trump. TDS to the max, just
Yep.
screaming and hollering at a movie award show about American shit in France, right? And of course, he got
He
a
should have.
huge amount of pushback on that. And
Yep.
Tom Cruise came out and gave quite a long monologue, didn't call out De Niro directly, but basically said, this is not what movies are. And he's right.
Correct. Correct. They're escapism.
Yeah.
Um, I know our boy Grimlock can't stand Mr. Cruz, and that's fine. We all have our scruples. But when it comes to being a movie star, he is one of the only ones, Henry too, who understands his fucking job, and he tries to do it to his best of his ability.
Right.
Right?
Well, you have to
One
admit
of the
that
things that
Grimlock. At least he does what he's supposed to do, and he goes out and said,
I
"Hey,
give
please
him.
watch my movie."
I'll give him that. He understands his assignment.
He
yes,
does.
yes.
Yeah.
One of the
The
things he always does, always, even in his posts like on Twitter and stuff, I'll see is he always is very grateful. He always says we make one, and it part of it's just good marketing, good PR. But I think it's true. I think this is how he sees it, that they do this for the fans. He always,
He's
labels it
always
that way,
been that
frames
way.
it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, his whole career,
Yeah.
and it's because he understands that so clearly none of this happens without people coming to watch his shit. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
So he's got gratitude for it. He said Tom Cruise's life is very interesting. If you ever want to do a deep dive on somebody who's had a crazy life, that man has had a life,
Sure.
and he's done some
And
crazy, very very shady shit. But he's had
he
a
has,
life.
but you can also throw him into the category of Keanu Reeves a little bit.
Hmm.
Now Keanu is very loved because he's a sweet man, right?
Yeah,
I mean, legitimately a nice
he's
guy.
a
Where
kind man.
Tom isn't
Yeah.
necessarily that, uh, but
No,
um,
Tom's an asshole.
but they both fall in the category of they do one thing well, right?
So they just do that thing.
And they
They
just
just
do
do
that
that thing.
thing because you don't want to give Keanu too many lines because he's not
No,
much of an
no.
actor. And with
Mhm.
Tom, you just want him kind of running mostly,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Because he's not this amazing, great actor. He's not even as functional as, say, a Brad Pitt, I'd say.
No, I'd say
Uh,
Brad Pitt's a better
yeah,
actor.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd agree.
But
Yeah.
Tom does what he does well, just like Keanu does. And they know it and they stick to it. And I had no
Yep.
problem with that.
But then again, he does play. Oh, what's the character's name in Tropic Thunder?
That is cool part. Yeah, I know. I can't
What
remember
is
the
his
name, but
name? Like,
it's ridiculous.
but it's so good. We watched that about a week, like 2 weeks ago, and honestly, when I first watched that movie, I didn't even know it was him till its credits. That's
Oh
how good
yeah,
he did,
yeah.
and he's just so good. It's so good. But he Tom can act. It's just he realized. I don't know, about 25 years ago that nobody really gives a shit if he can act or not. So
No,
he just
no,
gives the
yeah,
people what they want, and he
yeah.
makes some
Les
money.
Grossman. That's right, Alan. Thanks.
Les Grossman,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Well, it's like the new Mel Gibson movie just came out, Flight Risk, which my wife and I watched with Matt, not no, Marky Mark there, Wahlberg in it.
Mark
Um,
Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg, and Mark is another guy who once again I think he's a better actor than Tom Cruise, to be honest. But
He's a
he
devout
does what he
Catholic.
does well, right?
Yep.
And this Mel Gibson movie that came out, it was all right. He tries to do something different with Mel, but then again, he's got Mel directing him, right? And it worked pretty good. It's not what you normally see from Mark Wahlberg at all, but it was pretty good. You go watch it. It's just a little piece. It's set, the whole movie is basically is in a small airplane.
Chester, what is your favorite Mark Wahlberg movie? If you had to pick
The
one,
Big Hit.
is that the name of it? I don't know if I've ever
Yeah,
seen that.
it's
The Big
called The
Hit.
Big Hit. Yeah, that's my favorite. Easy.
My favorite is one of his first ones when he started breaking out as an actor. It's called Four Brothers. I
Oh,
love that
that's a
movie. I watch
really,
that movie
really good
anytime.
movie. That's solid. But
Yeah,
that whole cast is solid. But Mark
yeah.
is another one. That's why I threw him in the category because he's better actor than the other two we were talking about. But he does a thing
You think he's better than Brad Pitt?
in the long run. I'd say yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But that's
I'd
hard
have to
because
think
Brad
about
has
it.
done a lot of fun things too. I would say
Yep.
Brad is more versatile because
He has.
Mark
Yeah.
is Mark. He is what he is.
Yes. He just plays Marky Mark.
He
Plays little
does.
Marky Mark. It's funny because you know one of the things they can do in Hollywood, they did it for Tom Cruise for years, is they can make him look taller than they are by shooting in perspective.
Oh, sure.
So
And
a lot
Tom's
of people
great
don't
at that.
realize. Yes, a lot of people don't realize how short Mark Wahlberg is. I
Oh, he's a
think
little
he's
dude.
only like 5'6", but
Yeah, he's a
he's
little
real
dude.
short.
He's a giant compared to Cruz. But no, some of these
Wow.
actors are really good at playing big. They are, and some
Yeah.
aren't. Right.
No.
Anyway, I'll be back in a
Yes.
second. I'll be back in a minute.
Chester's abandoning us right in the middle of this conversation. Anyway, back to Henry Cavill. He doesn't have that problem because he's a tall man and a very large tall man. Uh, I I hope that these experiments, if you will, that he's been doing with Amazon really work out because, like I was saying earlier, which got us on this topic, uh, he's trying, guys. He's trying. He really is. He's fighting for us nerds, for the fans. He's one of the only people at that level, maybe the only one that's on that side of the camera who understands why we get so upset, why we rage and scream and get mad when they fuck up our shit. And he's with us. It's multiple times in interviews. These little bitch ass journalists have tried to catch him, tried to get him to denounce fans for being they're just too passionate for that shit. And he's like, no, 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 that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Maybe they go too far sometimes, but that's just because they care. Something to that effect. Um, this man he gets us. He is one of us. This gentleman found out that he was going to get to play Superman while he was playing World of Warcraft. He didn't even answer his phone. He was busy raiding. Priorities. He might
Yes.
not look like it, but he's one of us. He is one of us. I just really hope these work out because we need more. We need to win this argument. We've been having this argument for decades with these people now, especially like with superhero movies. And honestly, the MCU, for all of its faults, and it has many, tried to some degree to stay relatively accurate, or at least on spiritually. Like they did. Captain America was great.
Mm,
The Captain America we got was fantastic. Um,
let, let's be frank. Even when they was good, we looked the other way on a lot of shit.
well, of
We
course we
did.
did, but it was because they were going in the right direction, at least for a while. It wasn't until later when I started trying to warn our friend Chester here that they're about to shift. You can see it coming. Here it comes. Feige's talking. He's yapping. He's out here yapping. And then here it comes. We get to Endgame, and all of a sudden we have this ridiculous girl power scene that it felt like it was stapled on by the C team, right? You know how they have multiple teams that do the shooting? That's
Yeah.
what this felt like because it looked terrible. The perspective on all the angles was wrong. Like it was just terrible. It was dog shit. Ignore the message of it. The artistry of it was terrible. It was horrid, and yet it was in there. And up until that point, though, they did a pretty good job. Was it as faithful as it should have been? Not even close. It should have been far more. but some of the thing, but I think on the whole, it was pretty good. I still think they should have stuck with Thanos just being obsessed with death and made Lady Death a real thing, like she's supposed to be. Um, because that's what they teased, right? When he first showed up, that's what they teased, and then they, for some reason, went away from it to turn him into an eco-fascist. Which, okay, fine. I think they did a decent job with him, but there really wasn't a lot of madness, right? He's supposed to be the Mad Titan. Um, it was pretty reasonable, actually. Like, he's wrong, of course, but at least there was like logic behind it. The other way is just complete insanity. He's just going to kill half the universe to try and get a girl. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. Ultra simp. He's the universe's biggest simp. This guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Which I have pointed out numerous times to people. That's not, motherfucker. You do not read the book. Do not preach this shit to me. Just because you went and Googled some shit. I mean a goddamn thing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. But I really hope, like I was saying, where I was going with this, is that Henry wins these battles. He lost The Witcher. He lost probably, I don't know what happened with Superman. That was a total clusterfuck. But he definitely lost the battle with The Witcher because he just didn't have enough stroke. And that, killed that series, which, in fairness, it needed to die. But I really hope he wins these battles. I hope this Voltron movie is fun. It doesn't need to be great. We're not asking for great cinema here, right? We're not doing the Citizen Kane of Voltron movies. That's not what we're looking for. It
No.
needs to be fun. It
Yeah.
needs to be a good time. It needs to get the message across. We need to get to see giant robots beating other shit up into space and flying around with a big sword and have lion mouths for hands for some reason.
Well,
That's what we
I
need.
will say, I'll say this: it has to be good at some point because just saying we need it to be fun is why they keep putting out Alien versus Predator movies.
That
That's
is
true.
true.
The,
Yeah, that
because
is
the
true.
normies will go.
One,
Because the normies will go. Oh, it's just a fun movie. I can go cut my brain off for 2 hours, as though it was running the other 22. You lying fuck.
Right.
This first one though, it needs to get the tone right, is what I mean. Because Voltron, it's Voltron, right? It wasn't exactly the deepest show of all time. It
Well,
wasn't
no,
like
but it did have a
Transformers
story though.
that was really good, right? It was really well written and had good character work. It was Voltron. The one
Yeah.
I really would hope they would do, and they had talked about, but it never went anywhere, is Thundercats. I'd love a proper Thundercats movie with like $100 million budget. Could be sweet. I
It
love
could be a lot of
Thundercats. That was
fun,
my
yeah.
shit.
But let's take a look at Mark's career here. Now, all his stuff, Basketball Diaries, I know was popular, as was Fear. Although he had bit parts, I think. His
Yeah.
big breakout, of course, was Boogie Nights, where he was the main character, of course. And this movie here, the big hit, is the one I loved. And he plays this super sweet, kind, gentle assassin. And
Nice.
and Lou Diamond Phillips absolutely shines in this movie, dude. Shines.
He does
Uh,
often.
he does. But let's see what else we got. Three Kings. It was all right. I saw it.
Yep.
Perfect Storm.
Perfect Storm. That's
Now,
pretty good.
I
Yeah, I like
remember
that.
the real life situation of that happening because it was involving the fishing fleet where my
Yep.
family's involved. I remember that actually. Planet of the Apes. People hate that movie, but it was all right. Rockstar is
I thought it was
great.
fine.
Rockstar
Rockstar is good.
kicks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know this stuff.
Italian Job.
Remake was
Italian Job's really
fine.
good.
Four
Yep.
Brothers, once again, great movie. Of course, he's in Invincible. The Departed, good movie. The Happening, not so much. Max Payne, didn't know he
Max
did
Payne.
that. He played Max Payne. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
he did. He did. That movie
Uh,
is an abomination.
it's not good. Yeah. Lovely Bones was wasn't bad. He plays a smaller
I
part in that.
do enjoy the other guys as well. You wouldn't like it, Chester, because it's got your favorite actor and comedian of all time in my brain just lost his name.
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. It's got Will Ferrell in it. But yeah, I love the other guys. The only problem that movie really has is it's about a half hour too long. Other than that, I think it's
Yeah.
really good.
The Fighter actually is a really good movie. Ted, he's great in
That's
that. He's
funny.
brilliant.
That is funny.
Pain and Gain, once again, great fun movie. It's really good. Transformers, we shouldn't talk about.
Especially that one.
Yes, you shouldn't.
It's really bad.
That's the one that randomly has like a 5-10 minute segment where a guy tries to argue why statutory rape's okay. It's really weird because it's out of nowhere in the middle of this movie. It's strange.
Yeah, no,
but it's
that
in
it
there.
didn't belong. It was so dumb. Yeah,
Yes.
it was so dumb. They are going to screw up He-Man, by the way, Alan, for sure. Transformers last night. Once again, we won't talk about it. Mile 22 is not bad. It's like a Black Op movie. It's not bad. He does those things well. Spencer Confidential, I enjoyed. Uncharted,
The
didn't
sad thing
see
is,
it.
Mark was the least offensive thing about those Transformers. That
Yeah, he was
Transformers
fine.
movie.
Yeah, but
It,
he
it,
was
it
out
I'll
of
was
say
place
it
again.
was
though.
nice. It was just
I'll say
it was
again.
nice to have a male lead with actual testosterone in the fucking series.
Uncharted is fine, Chester. It's fine. It's just not Uncharted. If they'd have named it anything else, it would have been just as good.
Yeah, I get that. The Union actually is a little sci-fi thing. It's whatever. Flight Risk you just watched. It's much better than this rating, but it's a little Mel Gibson movie. What's he got coming up here?
The $6 billion. He's going to play Steve Austin in the $6 billion. Wait a minute. Wow. I didn't even know they were making this movie.
He's way too small for that role.
Well, and he's
way
a
too
little old. He's got
well
to be in his
because that was Lee
mid-50s by
Majors,
now.
right? That was Lee Majors,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And he's like my size. Right?
Yes.
But I guess it doesn't really matter. It doesn't actually matter. But some kind of action film with him, it could work. It could work. But he's got that kind of sweet, nice guy demeanor, right? I don't
He's not,
know.
though. Yes. I know what you mean.
Well, I don't know
He's
what
a
he's
bit of
like
a
in real
prick.
life. Is he?
Yeah. He always has been.
Oh, fine. They all seem to be. It's too bad. But anyway, let me get back to what I was doing. Yeah, so we talked about that, and of course, we were talking about this last week. Go ahead.
John Wick's David Leitch. Did I say that? Up to direct Netflix's Gears of War.
Leech.
Oh. Who gave Netflix this? Why would you do this? Why would you do this to me personally, on a personal level?
Well, we were talking about maybe the future is video game movies. We were talking about that last week.
It absolutely is.
And Gears
But
of War has a
Netflix,
storyline. It does.
Netflix.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's a problem. But
How
it is from
long
the
does it
John
take
Wick
them
guy.
to have? How long does it take them to have the main guy whose name Mark? His name's Marcus, right? Marcus
Yeah.
Phoenix. How
Yeah.
long does it take them to have him blowing another dude? Let's be honest. Let's get it out there.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's
Yeah.
Netflix. He's gonna be gay.
Oh no!
Or
It's gonna be
bisexual.
Cole. It's gonna be Cole because Cole's black, and you can't have a masculine black man on fucking Netflix.
That's right. Yeah, there'll be no masculinity in this. It'll be total. It'll be
And Dom's story, which was absolutely fucking tragic. They'll change it to where he was just a piece of shit to his wife and kid.
That's right.
Something
That's
like
what they
that.
fucking do.
Yeah. No, of course that's what they do. But
And to answer Hal's question, the reason why they can't do a good Thundercats movie is because remember, half of the first season, whether it was the original or the reboot, is about Lionel having to grow up from being a boy to a man. Good luck finding
That's right.
men in Hollywood these days.
that is true. It is a coming of age story. That is true. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
And
Well, there's that.
because all the furries would be all over our girl. They'd be all over Chitara. That would be a lot of. It'd be real degenerate.
That's true.
That's already. I mean, that's already there.
Now,
But the thing is, they all have good stories. If it can be done, it's just not going to be done through Hollywood.
That's true.
Yes.
It needs to be done independent. And we're in that moment where we need independence to step up, just like we did in the 70s, right? Now, coming from a military family, as I do know that no one in the history of ever, as a soldier, stands holding their gun like that. Ever.
Yeah. I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
We'll just put it out there to the ether, internet. Why would you think no one who knows a firearm intimately would hold it that way?
Yeah.
We'll leave it open.
It's rather
especially,
ridiculous.
I mean, The opposite way, yes, but with your hands over the fucking barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that either. Your gun doesn't usually touch the ground like that as a soldier.
Well, not only that, not only is the barrel right there, there's also a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But no, military guys are very, very particular about their rifle for good reasons.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I don't know. I just thought because we were talking last week about video game movies, and boom, here's one. But this is going to be very high end budget, though. That's expensive to do Gears of War. Last week when we were talking about it, we mentioned how expensive Gears of War would be. That's just pricey as hell. Now, of course, they might do it with this really bad CG in the background of everything, and everything's browned out. Of course, it's not a
Well,
Villeneuve movie.
in
You know,
fairness, in
I mean,
fairness,
it's
that would be
one.
pretty
It's the
Gears of
one.
War.
Yeah, I was about to say the one freaking franchise that's actually
Yeah.
encouraged.
A lot of
maybe get
brown
away
in
with,
Gears of
yeah.
War. A lot of brown.
So they should
But
hire
no, it's a
Villeneuve, is
shame.
what you're saying.
It's a real shame because this franchise does have one of the better overarching stories.
It does have a good story. Yeah.
And believe it or not, even though people think of it as this hyper masculine whatever, so they're gonna fuck it up. It's Netflix.
They are.
When have they
And
ever done it right?
correct me
Ever.
if I'm wrong, but I remember that this was one of the very first games where you could hide behind cover and come up and shoot and hide back behind cover.
It
I
was
do
one of the
remember a
Ooh.
toggle
smoothest.
letting you do that. It was like one of the first ones, right? If not the
It
first
was
one.
one of the smoothest you could do it. Now there were games that did it before, but here's what happens is typically AA or lower indie games will come up with an idea or a system, and then the
Right.
AAA guys come in and make it better. And
Steal it.
that's what
Yeah.
Gears of War did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the first one at that level for sure
Hmm.
that did it.
My friend Ben loved this game when it first came out, and we used to play it. Yeah. He
Oh,
was big.
Gears is great.
Ben is a big Gears fan. Big, big, big Gears fan. He loved it.
Gears is
Yeah.
great. Netflix is gonna
So,
fuck it up. Is what they're gonna do. It's gonna be
Unfortunately,
bad.
unfortunately,
I hope I'm wrong, but I'm not gonna be wrong. We know I'm not gonna be wrong.
Netflix has a bad track record for
The
sure.
only thing they ever did right that I've seen anyway is the One Piece live action show, and that was simply because Oda wouldn't let him fuck it up. He was involved
Right.
from day one. He had the right of first refusal on everything. He even made him do reshoots if he didn't like it, and it was just it. He said no, reshoot that, and they just did it. Done. That was it. He was god of that set whenever he wanted to be, and that's why they didn't fuck it up. That's the only reason, and we all know it. The same thing that happened with The Witcher, the same thing that happened with Cowboy Bebop, the same thing that happened with they made a Bleach movie, the same thing that happened with all of them. They fucked them all up because they're just terrible human beings. That's
Yeah.
why.
I have a scary suggestion. I can't
Mhm.
believe I'm suggesting this.
Mhm.
But whoever's worked on that Last of Us series on HBO,
Mhm.
get them because they've actually been accurate to that story for as shitty as that story is.
Yes,
Um,
and it is.
they've actually been fairly accurate to that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
people hate that story because of the shit they did in it, dude.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's Neil Druckmann's fault. That's not the people who actually made the fucking series.
That's fine.
True.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's why I'm saying they actually
All right.
followed the story. The story's just shit.
It is shit, unfortunately. But it's just woke nonsense. Get white man, get whitey. But yeah. Oh wow.
Ironheart backlash grows as Cox and I hate his last name Shill in new promo. D'Onofrio.
D'Onofrio. Yes.
The fact that they even are making this or have made this. Oh, Disney.
No, we knew this. We all said that.
We
Me and
knew.
you said this before.
Yeah.
That as soon as Kevin Feige started talking that bullshit, that all different characters was going to get pushed to the front of the line
Sure.
when it should have been the X-Men and the Fantastic Four should have been pushed to the front of the line the day after they acquired Fox, because that was the whole fucking reasoning for that. That
Imagine.
all the bullshit excuses we had heard from the Disney faggots for 7 years was, well, because they don't have the rights to this and they don't have the rights to that. Okay, well, if that's the case, the moment you fucking acquired them, everything should have been scrapped in favor of an X-Men and Fantastic Four movie, but you didn't.
Yeah.
You
Right.
moved
Well,
them to the back of the line so you could put out bullshit like this. Because
well,
this series has been done since 2022.
yeah, no,
Yes.
this has been sitting for quite a while, yeah. And of course, when it came out, it instantly was hated in the comic books. But now keep in mind when you mentioned Fantastic Four, they went and did some research, reshoots, sorry, came out with another screener, and it was hated even more. They're back doing reshoots again. Isn't this movie coming out in like a month or two?
It's supposed to be in July, like right
July,
around
yeah.
4th of July weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't got much time.
there's a second
Um,
round of reshoots because it's really
Well,
not selling.
unless you're recasting Pedro Pascal, you're not gonna get anything out of this.
well, he can't shut his
Because I'm
cocksucker either, so there's a
No, he
problem.
well,
can't. He
that's how
can't.
he got into Hollywood is by opening his cocksucker.
That's
No,
probably why.
he's a nepo baby. That's how
He
he got in
is.
Hollywood.
He is
Um,
certainly. But the thing with this, though, we all
He looks
know.
like a fucking janitor.
We all know
I'm just gonna
Ironheart
say I
is
don't care. It sounds racist.
looks
that's
like a
fine.
janitor.
Ironheart
Tell me he
is
doesn't look like he should be cleaning up child vomit. Sorry, Chuck.
fair enough.
He-
But Ironheart, of course, is complete bullshit. We know the story they came out with is completely anti-white. She's so much better than Tony Stark in every way. Yada yada yada. We know how the comics went. We've
Uh-huh.
talked about it here. But it seems in the movie they're doing that. They didn't learn nothing. They didn't back it up a little bit, soften it. No, she's a hardcore, angry black woman who is better than every white boy. And they
Imagine.
imagine that. But the reason I put this up here, because we all know that, is these two guys, Charlie Cox and D'Onofrio. These guys just
Mhm.
sold their soul, man. They
Yeah,
just sold
they
their
wanted
soul. They don't
they
give a
wanted a
shit.
paycheck. They
They wanted
wanted
a
a paycheck.
paycheck. I mean, he did that Echo thing that completely, humiliated and disrespected the Kingpin character. And then they just did the Daredevil season, which was so bad that it didn't even chart on Nielsen at all. Not a single episode because
That's
it's
right.
ultra woke girl power nonsense. And these two assholes sat down and didn't do any pushback whatsoever.
I wonder what they was promised
I
to
don't
suck
know.
off as hard as they have because they had to be promised something
Yeah,
because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who remembers this, but for years Disney refused to acknowledge the Netflix series even fucking existed,
that's
in
right.
spite of the fact that it was some of the better shit that had came out.
That's right.
Period.
That's true. And another
Well,
thing that's a bit curious to me is I don't know how much money Charlie Cox has, but D'Onofrio, he has to be a rich man. There's no way he can't be. So therefore, there's no necessarily financial incentive for D'Onofrio. But yet these guys are ultra shills, dude. It's really
well,
unfortunate.
And can I just
imagine.
say this? In
Go ahead.
that picture, D'Onofrio looks like Paul Heyman's older, skinnier
He
brother.
does. He does look a
Cooler,
little
richer
bit
brother.
Heyman.
Yeah, that's true.
Imagine if instead of wasting their money on this bullshit that nobody's gonna watch and nobody cares about because she's one of the worst characters ever conceived. Imagine if they had spent that time and money on something like a Young Gambit series, and they slowly started to establish the X-Men and the mutants, and they did it from an angle people weren't necessarily expect, like you do it with Gambit. Gambit's popular. He's definitely more popular than this bitch. Uh, he's popular enough. He could have a small little series of his own. His powers aren't totally ridiculous. It won't be that expensive, right? And you could have him doing Gambit shit.
Right.
Up
I
until
got
the
one
time
better.
he gets to the school.
I got one better. You just gave me an idea. It's since they're so obsessed with multiverses and time travel and shit,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to do black characters so bad,
Hmm.
you could have gave us a Bishop series, you fucking faggots,
Yeah, that would have been cheap.
and
Yeah.
you could have
Nice and
given
cheap.
us. And in fact, the guy, if you go back to the picture of the guy they was talking about being Professor X, you put that M on his eye and give him some fucking hair. Tell me that's not Bishop.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
No, Bishop would be a
But my
cheaper one
my
to do
point is,
too.
you could
You could have
do
done the whole thing to tie it into the fucking mutants
Yeah.
yes,
because
you
you
could
have that
easily
whole
do that.
story.
Yep. You could easily
I was
do one of the side characters, one of the lesser, not your Wolverines or whatever,
Yeah, yeah, I
and
got you.
and slowly establish that these people exist. Where it could be a multiverse thing if you because they would need it to be. In some version of reality, there's these mutants out there. And what you could have done to build to the first X-Men movie is have each one of them, of the main X-Men or whatever, slowly find their way to Charles Xavier. That would be the point of these shows. Each one, how did Xavier find them? How did they end up at the school? How did they blah 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 blah? How did they become X-Men, basically? And you would do each one of their origins individually instead of trying to lump them into the movies, because that's what they're going to do, and it's going to suck. And that
I
way
just
you
had
have these
another idea.
characters established. And if you get to the movie, because here's one of the problems: people say, "Well, what if you don't watch the shows?" Well, you don't. If you're watching an X-Men movie, you probably don't really need to know Gambit's backstory. You don't care, most likely. You either already know it, or you're not there for that anyway. But people who would want to know that, you could have that. Uh, you wouldn't necessarily do this with your big guys, right? Your main, whoever's going to be your main focus of these films. It's not going to be everybody. You're going to pick one or two, probably Wolverine again, if we're being honest, and because he's the most popular. And
Well,
you just run with it from there. But my point is there was so many ways to slowly start building out your version of the X-Men, whatever that looks like. And instead of doing that, you wasted all this resources, time, money, marketing, everything on this dopey bitch that nobody likes. Nobody likes Ironheart. No one. No one. Not even not even like as a this is so stupid. No. It's got go away heat. Nobody wants this. Nobody. We don't want to see it. We don't want to think about it. And it's a shame because it's not a terrible idea on the surface. It's just the way they execute it
yes, it
is
is.
so
It's a
fucking
terrible idea.
insufferable. Well, I mean the idea of Ironheart itself. You could make that
No,
work if
it is.
Tony was
It is because
involved, you could make that work. If she was like an apprentice or something, that could work. Or his daughter that he actually does have in the MCU, by the way. You could
here's
potentially
why it's
make
a
that
terrible
work.
idea. Because of another character people have forgotten about. Fucking Moon Girl. Within within not even 2 years, 6 months, Marvel put out back-to-back characters, black girl characters that were supposed to be the smartest characters in the universe, without even showing what the fuck made them smart.
Well, you
Of
don't do
course
all
not.
that. You don't try and make her. You don't say she's smarter than Tony. You don't do any of that. You make her. She wouldn't even be an heir
That's the
apparent.
whole
She would
reason
just
they
be.
exist.
I
That's a
understand that, but my point is the premise of basically a sidekick character is what she'd have to be. Isn't a bad idea. They've done this a million times in comic books. It's the fact that
It
they
works
tried to
better
make
with
her
DC than Marvel,
replacement.
though.
They tried to make her a replacement instead of just letting her be what she should have been, which is honestly just his daughter. Is what they should have done if they were going to do this at all. Uh, the problem is they fucked it up now. They established that he has a daughter in the MCU. She's still alive, even though he killed himself for no fucking reason in Endgame. She's still alive. Why wouldn't she want to take up her dad's mantle? She doesn't care? Fuck him? He's a piece of shit? Well, I mean, she probably is mad at him since he killed himself for no reason.
yeah.
Dumbass movie.
Well,
I'm one of the
Interesting
smartest
way out
guys
of
in the world. I just killed myself. What the fuck? You
hey,
got the time and reality stones. Just move them. Just wipe them away.
hey, look, he asked Doctor Strange what universe would he have to exist in to not pay child support. Strange said none. He said, "Well, fuck it, I'm out."
that's probably true. But no, I mean, all that's well and good, but honestly, everyone knows the X-Men. What I would do, and they're not going to, but what they should do is focus on a Morlock story in the sewers and undergrounds of New York, do like a series on it, and introduce the mutants this way. And then you can introduce Mr. Sinister, who's a great villain, and his Marauders. That's how you do it. Don't do the X-Men again until just wait. Do the
I'd be
They're not.
Morlocks.
very surprised if you ever see Mr. Sinister.
He's a
Ever.
great bad guy.
I agree, but they won't do him. And if they do, he'll be a joke. He'll be yuck yuck bullshit.
Why?
Because they're just terrible at this, Chester. They've only ever done one villain right in the entire MCU history, and that was Thanos. They still did him wrong. He was good because Brolin's amazing, but other than that, I wasn't really Thanos. We were talking about this while you were gone. I still argue he should have just been obsessed with death, trying to court death. That's a much better motivation than I'm an
Yeah.
eco-fascist. But my
I'll
logic
say
is
Ultron was
retarded.
a better villain,
He was.
and
He
I
was.
will
That
say
movie
Ultron and Stain were better villains. I will die on that
that
hill.
movie is massively underrated. But my point is, regardless, you're not going to get good villains out of the MCU unless there's a massive change at the top, changing of the guard and a change of philosophy, because they don't know how to make heroes. How the fuck are they ever going to make villains?
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other. That's the whole point. If you want a good villain or you want a good hero, you need both, or you don't have a good of either. The reason why Batman and the Joker are so good together is because they're both so good by themselves. That's why. And then that they come together and make beautiful music together. Uh, the reason why Superman and Lex work so well is because they work so well on their own, but then they can come together as characters. They work well on their own, and they can come together and do unbelievable things. For instance, they don't have that in the MCU. They haven't had it in a very, very long time. The closest they had was Thanos and Stain, but Stain was all the way back at the very beginning, 20 years ago. He's gone. He's out of the picture. They've never really been able to do it because here's what they do: they build up a villain, or they just throw them in one movie and kill them, or eliminate them in some way. Well, that's retarded. That's why they never get Sinister right, because Sinister needs to be a persistent, constant threat to the
Yeah.
X-Men and to that version of Marvel, or just the Marvel universe in general. And they'll never do that. That you're gonna just look what they're gonna do to Doctor Doom. He's gonna get 2 movies and he's gonna be out. That's it. Doctor Doom, the villain of Marvel, the number one guy. He's gonna be gone.
Yeah,
Boom.
no, they
See ya.
waste
Well,
characters. That's true.
yeah,
But the thing with it is they introduce Apocalypse in the wrong way. But the Apocalypse is known to the normies now, and of course, Nathaniel Essex is what we know of Mister Sinister is a clone created by Apocalypse, right? Back in
right.
1895. And the thing it's a shame is you're probably right because you could do some really interesting, introducing Morlocks. They're being attacked by the Marauders. We find out the mind behind the Marauders being Mr. Sinister, and then you could break into talking about who is this guy, where did he come from. Dude, that could be a great series, man.
Yeah, yeah. Ground level, underground. You could tie it in with some of the other characters if you wanted to, like a Daredevil or whatever.
Mm.
A lot of it could happen, but they're not gonna.
I mean, they could
You're not
tap
gonna get
into a
that.
lot of the 100 plus years ago Marvel universe as well.
Yes, yes. Apocalypse should be phenomenal, but they refuse to do him correctly. Right? He's he's a problem,
Yeah.
but he's never really a problem because they won't execute him properly. But he could be a near Thanos level problem for this iteration of the MCU. Um, Again, though, they have to not waste him. Look what they just did with Sentry, for crying out
Yeah,
loud.
no, they do waste a lot. That's true. That's a big problem. But with Apocalypse, they could have used that guy's voice, I guess. But they should have went and did like they did with Darth Vader, go get some giant,
Yep.
and put him in the Apocalypse armor, and have the other guy dubbing over ADR, if that's what you really wanted to do. But
Yes.
nevertheless, this is what we're getting, and they're in a panic. Of course, why doesn't anyone like our shit? All right, well, you're never going to learn.
Because it sucks.
It
That's
does
why.
suck.
It sucks.
Anyway, let's go over here and take a look, see what we got for the weekend, shall we? Now, this is interesting to me. Um, we have the sixth installation into the Final Destination universe.
That's right.
And you either like them or you don't, right? But not only did it make $51 million in its opening weekend for a horror movie, that's pretty good.
Yep.
Because it's low budget. But actually, the ratings on this, people are like, this is the best one they ever made. I'm like,
I've
okay,
heard it's pretty good.
yeah,
Heard it's pretty good.
yeah. Thunderbolts, of course, is not gonna. It's dead in the water, dude. It's not gonna make it. It's not gonna even come close to breaking even. This is gonna lose hundreds of
No.
millions of dollars. Sinners
Yeah.
is 100% in the black plus.
Yeah, I need to go see that movie,
Yeah,
actually. I keep saying it, and then it just doesn't happen. I really do want to see it. It
yeah.
looks quite interesting. Um, I like the fact that this can still happen, right? One of the things that like John Wick. John Wick wasn't supposed to be as successful as it was, but it was because it was good.
It was fun.
That's it.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was just good.
yeah. I agree,
And
Booster. You're right. Series is better.
hopefully hopefully that's what we can get from this. Maybe we can get some more medium to low budget but with quality, right?
Yeah.
Keanu hadn't really done anything in a long time of any note, but he was still Keanu fucking Reeves. You got Michael. I'm pretty sure Michael B. Jordan's in that Sinners movie, and a whole bunch of other black actors. But Michael B. Jordan, for all the shit that he gets, and a lot of it he deserves because he's shoved down everybody's throats, he's still got star power. No one
He
can deny
does.
that.
He does. Yeah.
Uh,
Well, that
so
director only makes black movies, so
yes, so it's nice to see that star power is still a thing. One of the things Hollywood has been trying to get away from for years is that the concept of star power. They want to be able to put out their slop and get people to go watch it regardless of who's in it. And that doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And there's a few exceptions where it worked occasionally, what have you, but I don't think it's going to I think we're going to learn a real lesson here very quickly, I think, in Hollywood and what have you, that it matters who's in your film and star power exists and you aren't going to get away from it. So they're going to keep trying and they're going to keep failing. One of the things that we see with like Chris Pratt movies, the reason why Chris Pratt is in everything is because he makes money. He
he's got his
draws.
star power. Yeah, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
it's simple as
Yeah.
that.
You know, I am a little bit surprised that because we had the Cannes Film Festival this week, right?
Yep,
But I would have imagined to seen a whole bunch of movies drop because of it. But no, we got three.
three of them. Race.
And of course,
I don't know
therefore they
what's
gave
Hollywood
room for
doing.
Final Destiny. Yeah, it's weird. It is weird, but like I said, I'm sure I'll watch this Final Destination movie because I've seen all of them, and they're kind of dumb popcorn movies. Although the best Final Destination movie ever made was Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yeah,
I'm not even joking.
this guy. Um, I don't think I've ever watched an entire Final Destination movie. They're not
Eh,
my forte at
well,
all.
there's not much to them, you know.
Yeah,
That's why I said Tucker
pretty.
and Dale is the best one because there's an actual plot there.
It's pretty much just death porn.
It is.
That's pretty much it.
It
Yeah.
is. But I'm not actually joking. If you go watch Tucker and Dale versus Evil, you will realize that the people who wrote that had Final Destination in their head the entire time. Because what happens in that movie, if you recall, Tucker and Dale, what's the very, very, very first things happen? You got a bunch of the kids in the car driving along, smoking weed, not paying attention, looking away, and they almost hit Tucker and Dale's truck. That was the moment death was denied. And then
Mhm.
if you look at every death after that and everything that happens, it follows the Final Destination death loop rules 100%. So it might not be officially a Final Destination movie, but the creators and director of that movie, Tucker and Dale, clearly had that in their mind. Obviously,
Could be. Makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
That's usually what happens. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
aping
yeah,
something
yeah,
else.
yeah. But Tucker and Dale is so much better. If you haven't seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil, what are you doing?
What is Minecraft actually at worldwide? Click on that for me real quick.
Yep.
Wow, it still hasn't broke a billion. That's
No.
crazy. That's Minecraft, bro. There's not a besides like GTA and Mario and stuff, there isn't a bigger
No.
franchise in gaming.
They'll make another one though.
Oh, of course they will. But it's shocking to me. I mean, the Mario movie cracked a billion. I think it hit a billion and a half, didn't it? So
Yeah.
that's actually surprising that Minecraft only did that much. I mean, it's still a lot of money. They're still all right, but I would have ventured to guess they assumed they'd make a billion, at least a
Yeah.
billion and a half on that.
Look at that though, Final Destination, dude. They're
I don't
50
think
million in
Minecraft
the
had that kind
pocket.
of appeal.
What do you
What was
say?
that? Good luck.
I don't think Minecraft had that kind of appeal that a Mario or Sonic does.
Well, it doesn't
I
have
mean,
the
it's
Well,
legacy.
popular.
Yeah, that's true.
It's popular, but I mean, we're talking
With
about
a
two
younger
two
generation.
franchises with a 30-year legacy against
true,
a
true. But I'm saying
10,
that's probably what
15-year.
they expected
Yeah.
is at least a
Yeah.
billion and I would imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's aside from GTA 5, it's the most successful singular game ever made, and they cheated
Yeah,
for that
no,
number. But
I
still,
get your point, but here's a good example. I think what Grimlock is saying though. I have no interest in a Minecraft movie because I don't know it. Right, I'm not interested. Whereas, even though it's not for me at all, I still watch the Mario movie. Right?
of course, it's for you, Chester. Why wouldn't it be for you? You don't like wholesome brother movies? It's a wholesome brother movie.
It is, but it is a kiddie movie, which is
Oh yeah,
fine. Thunderbolts
Mario.
is sitting at 160 million in that they've made. They need 400 just to break even, and that's assuming they're not
I'm gonna say it
lying
right
to
to your
us.
face hole, Chester. If you don't get a little bit soft-eyed when Luigi saves his brother right at the end of that movie,
Hmm.
I don't think you're human.
That's
That's a
fair.
beautiful moment.
That's fair.
That's a beautiful moment
It
right
is a
there.
beautiful moment. Of course, it would have been better if Mario scored with Peach, but he never does.
Well, he did. They off-screened it, but it's
Oh, they
pretty
off-screened it.
heavily
Is that what
implied.
happened?
Yeah,
That's what
pretty
happened.
heavily implied.
All right. All righty then.
It's because Booster, it's easy. It's easy because these people are fucking idiots and they don't know how to connect to the audiences because they keep trying to make their audience instead of actually
I
acknowledging
think
Finding
the
one.
audience that
Yeah.
Yeah, I
actually
think
knows.
Booster nailed it. Actually, they should have made Minecraft animated. I don't know why it's live
It, it
action. It's
it's because
strange.
they keep thinking they can make an audience. It's not because they. It's look. DC did that with the New 52, right? They tried to make a new audience. It
Yeah.
failed. Marvel tried it. We're all new, all different. It failed. This is not new.
Can
These people take popular franchises because or IP simply because they're popular.
yeah.
They don't know shit about them. They don't know who the audience is. They think they can make an audience because they sit in a room with some basically some faggots who put up some PowerPoint presentation on how they can make money doing this when
Yeah.
okay, conceptually that might work, but let's be frank. Most of the people who make that shit never put them into practice, and when it fails, and it almost always fails, they sit there going, "I don't know why that failed."
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. And
I
Booster, it's the internet. I'm sure that already
Oh,
exists,
that
buddy.
absolutely exists.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when they bought Minecraft from Old Notch, they bought it for like 2.5 billion, I think, right? So straight out,
Yeah,
right out of the gate, bought it wholesale. So this movie alone has made almost it'll probably crack 1 billion before it's done, I'd imagine. Worldwide, which means they don't really get all that. So that my point where I'm going with this is think about what Disney did with Star Wars. They bought all of it. Everything except for a few bits and pieces that George Lucas still has the rights to. Um, and they still haven't made their money back. Whereas Microsoft has definitely made that money back
oh yeah.
off of Minecraft. And they almost made about a quarter of it just off of this movie alone. So they're happy. They're very
And
happy.
think
But I think I
think how
think
much
Booster's
more it
right.
could
If
have been.
they would have made it animated, they could have used the same exact cast, just made it animated, made it look like Minecraft. Um, I think they would have made a lot more money. I think they would have probably got where they were looking to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But even as a success, they shows that they got it fucking wrong because who the fuck thought when you think Minecraft, you're thinking fucking Jack Black and Jason Momoa?
Yeah, no,
yeah.
no, that's
You're
not what I'm
not.
thinking at all. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about punching trees because that's you do a lot of
Well,
that,
it's
lot of tree punching.
it's like the nonsense they did with the reboot of Jumanji, right? It's
Yep.
like, boy, did you miss the point a
Yes.
lot, right?
Well, it's because they don't have a Robin Williams. When we probably will never have another one again. A man who understood how to. He knew how to make. He understood the tone of his film, and sometimes he would be very serious, and sometimes he'd be very comical. But he understood what he was doing. Right? They understood what they were doing with him, and he knew understood the character he was playing. You don't watch a Robin Williams movie and get confused by him. Now, other things maybe, but not by him.
Yeah.
So they don't have that they don't have anybody with the range of Robin. Robin was an amazing actor, but he was also fucking hilarious, and he
He
could do it
was.
flip
Yeah.
flop, turn it on, boom, boom,
He
boom, boom,
could.
whenever he wanted
But
to.
you're right, but I'm talking about more of the premise than the
Yeah,
actor.
I know.
Yeah.
But my point is the reason why you don't get those kind of premises anymore, where they can tell that kind of story and also be light, is because they don't have talent that will do it, that can do it. They just
Yeah,
don't.
because
There's no one who
Jack
can
Black is
connect with
one
it like that.
speed,
Yes.
Momoa is one speed,
Yes.
Will Smith is one speed. It
Yes.
it's
Well, I
yeah,
think
it's
Will's
there.
done. I'm pretty sure Will's done.
It
Um,
seems that way.
yeah. He is
But
the
yeah,
goat. Yeah, Robin Williams is ridiculous.
it's
But unfortunately, we get a lot of this stuff these days where they just don't understand the story they're telling. And we
Correct.
see it all the time. We've complained about it here for sure. But nevertheless, that's what I got for you today.
That's it.
That is it. Thank you guys all for coming in. We do appreciate it. Having a look and talk about various things that are going on in the world, of course. Didn't talk a lot about politics, but honestly, things are kind of stagnated where they are right now until something breaks out. Trump has certainly put Netanyahu and the Israelis in their place a little bit, which shocked a lot of people. Um, and there's really nothing new to report in that regard. Russia is just absolutely smacking the shit out of the Ukrainians every damn day. Um,
Yep.
and it's just getting worse and worse. And this summer is going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly. What are you going to do? It simply got to the point with Ukraine where the Ukrainians just need another coup d'état. They got to get rid of Zelensky. They gotta for their
Yep.
own future. Because here's a big thing that Russia the whole time is saying we want these 4 places since day one, right? And they've secured them. But now, because Putin is frustrated, and not just Putin, the government is frustrated with the Ukrainians, the summer offensive you're going to see is going to be taking Odessa. So what's going to happen in the long run is Ukraine is going to lose a certain percentage of their land, but more importantly, they're not going to have any access to the water, not one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is their own doing. They should have made that deal back in, which the deal they did make back in Istanbul 3 years ago, and then backed out of it because the Americans and the British are like, no, we can make you a better deal. Clearly, they couldn't. So, but that's it. All the other news in the world today is the same as it was last week. It's just things are very stagnant right now. I think everyone's kind of waiting to see what Trump is going to do. Um, to be fair, his journey to the Middle East was amazing. Boy, they love them some Donald Trump over there.
They do. Did
Holy
you
dude,
see them doing the hair dance for him?
they did everything for him. They put out the frickin' platinum rugs, man. Let
They
alone
did
the red
straight
carpet.
up royalty is how they
Yeah,
literally royalty is
I
how they
mean
treated him.
everywhere he went, it was ridiculous, dude. I mean, but they
Yep.
love them some Trump. But he just keeps winning, and eventually I think we're going to see things kind of snap and move forward, especially when it's going to take about a year, I'd say. But when we start seeing the absolute dividends for the American people in job opportunity, money, and stuff like that, which are already seen to a point, but when you start seeing that in a year or two from now, oh my God, dude, my goodness, right? And hopefully the American people aren't stupid enough.
They are.
Did I just say that? I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, we'll see what happens with it. But that's it. That's all we got today. You got something to say, Grimlock? Nice to see you, by the way.
Uh, yeah, no, I can. We can actually use the dad joke that I haven't talked to you since last year.
That's fair. I get a lot of dad jokes.
Still not a grandpa
Um,
though, huh?
No, no, I'm assuming it will be soon. But you know how
just look at the boy like God of War. Boy, what are you doing?
well,
And why aren't you
I
doing
was
it
going
to
to give him
her?
that speech the other day when we were up there. My wife said, "No, no, no, don't do it." I said, "All right, but next time, I give him
Yep.
1 more year.
It's
That's it.
time.
That's it.
Time,
What are you
son.
doing?"
Time.
Yep. But yeah, no, I eventually, what young people these days don't start making babies till they're 30, man.
Which isn't good, actually. We need to
No, it's
reverse
not.
that trend.
It's
You
not.
should have them younger, folk. If you're gonna have them when you're young.
Yeah. But to be fair, they're both doing. Both of my kids are doing really well as far as their career. Their love life is great. I mean, it's good. I'm a happy papa. I have very little worry regarding my kids. I was never a burden on my family whatsoever, my parents, whereas my other siblings, not so much. However, I can't describe how happy it is to be a father who doesn't always have to worry about that egg sitting on the side waiting to be spent because my kids have fucked something up.
Yeah.
It's no, I'm serious, dude. That is cool as shit.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Anyway, take us out of here, man.
I'm going to take us out of here. I'm going to do, you know what, Chester? Because it's
Mhm.
been a minute. I'm going to do 4. 4 in a row. 4 little pearls of wisdom for the audience today. I'm going to start with this one. The only safe wager in this world is humility. When you feel unworthy, happiness just makes you sad. Mourn who you've become, and then change. And wisdom shared is wisdom gained, is wisdom owed.
Mhm. I like second one best.
Yeah, good.
Namaste. Later, everybody.